Meeting last night?
Hi, everybody. What's going on, Stro? Yes, I am really tired. I did 2 games last night. Huh?
Randa, I was in Gaston last night for a 50-point
Gaston?
blowout by Nestucca.
I
Gaston.
was at Central Catholic with a 85 to 20 last night. Yeah, for both games. So much fun.
68 to 18 in mine.
Who's on the couch with a whiskey and water?
So there was whiskey in your water, is that what you're saying?
Whiskey and
Gaston.
water.
You know you're not supposed to dilute your whiskey, right?
Hey, sometimes it's whiskey on ice, sometimes it's whiskey and water.
I love it.
Well, good morning, gentlemen. I'd like to ask all of you a favor, and that'd be to please put your self on mute, or I do it for you. And when I do it from this end, it disables your ability to do it on that end. So, good Lord, Craig Poole, what lumberjack situation did you just come out of? Holy mackerel. Love it. Craig, thanks for being here and not at the mountain. Great to see everyone today. All right, here we go, guys. We're going to get it started right now. And I want to thank everyone and welcome them to the 2022 OLOA annual training session. Gentlemen, on behalf of our board of directors, who you will meet very shortly, I just want to thank you all for taking the time. Boy, I'm still getting a lot of background noise. Okay, turkeys, that's Poole's not on mute. He's done, just muted him. Neil's now on mute. Carl Yao is now on mute. Let's see. Okay, looks like the rest of you are compliant and ready to roll. Thank you guys all. Great to have everyone on here. We have quite a gathering. Looks like we're up to 57. In a perfect world, there'd be 72 of us on here, and I've heard from a few of our members who will be attending next week, but great showing this morning. Thank you all on this chilly morning. It is a great treat for us to be gathering this time of year, because guess what that means? We are inching closer to the absolute best time of year, and that is high school lacrosse season. Last night, we had the kickoff of the NCAA 2022 season. Always a fun one for us OLOA crew members, as it always marks kind of the start of the season. And we're going to have a very special year, gentlemen. Boy, is it going to be a unique one, much like last year. Want to start out by talking a little bit about some of the ground rules for today. We know we are over Zoom, and so human interaction is pretty challenging today. And so want to talk a little bit about how we're going to do that. And let's see. So ground rules for Zoom. We got a great chat menu, and our secretary, Kyle Verding, is going to assist me with that. Want to stay positive and make sure that everybody gets their questions answered as they would have them. Certainly don't mind some dialogue occurring by the group over Zoom, and we can do that. But we do want to stay respectful to our schedule. We have a very ambitious meeting. We got one of the best officials in the nation joining us for our expert feature, and I know that'll be a treat for everyone. Some of you may not have heard of this gentleman before, and boy, are you in for a treat. Many of the rest of you will go, my, oh my, what a great individual to bring on to this presentation. So as I mentioned, we can use the chat feature at any time. I'd like to remind everyone that this is being recorded. And so all responses from our members, it's going to be seen, it's going to be viewed. And there are many people who actually watch this who are not necessarily officials. In fact, I know a number of coaches who watched this last year and are looking forward to this presentation again. They're going to get to see a little bit of the rules agenda, a little bit of the things we're focusing on. Want to make sure to keep us on time, and we as a board of directors are working on a little bit different agenda. So if you do get me or Kyle Verding hustling us around, be aware of that. I'd like to start off, gentlemen, by having our board of directors unmute themselves, and I'm going to call on you. If you would introduce yourself, the region or position you represent, and want to make sure our membership is very aware of who our board of directors are, because we're in service to you. And so with that, I'm going to start. My name is Tom Hoffert. I have the opportunity to serve as the president of the OLOA. It's probably my favorite duty I've ever had in lacrosse. I had the opportunity to follow an incredible lineage, and that started with Fred Zenson and continued with undoubtedly probably one of the most remarkable men in Oregon lacrosse history, and that's Don Huber. And now you got to deal with me. What a treat. I'll tell you what, working with the other 8 gentlemen on our board is just a fantastic time. And I've never met 8 people who care as much about this organization as these guys do. And so with that, I'd like to start our introductions of our board members with Don Huber.
Well, I'm past president and was totally happy to hand over the reins to Mr. Tom Hoffert, who's going to do an excellent job, as you'll see today. And just look forward to being on the field with all you guys. Miss you all. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you. Kyle Verding.
Yes, good morning, guys. My name is Kyle Verding. I am the secretary of our board. Let's see, I'm most happy, like the thing I love most about being on this board is that I have the experience of having been a player in the OHSLA. So having experienced it as a player, as a coach, now as an official, just really fun to be able to give back to an organization that has quite literally changed my life for the better. So glad to be here, glad to be of service.
Thanks, Kyle. John Chessar.
Yeah, good morning, ladies. Excited to be here, excited to start the season on Vice for North. Essentially what that means is that I'm there for you, Portland area. If you have any issues, any questions, just call me. I'm, like everybody else, really excited about climbing out of a chair and putting the book down and getting out in the field with the rest of you guys. I look forward to the season.
Mr. Neil Reinen.
Hi guys, Neil Reinen here, South Vice President. Like John said, I'm here for you. Just need to text or call me. If you look on the top right, there's a tab for the board members and my email will be there. Looking forward to the year and for the training coming up.
Mike Brooks.
Good morning, everyone. Mike Brooks, Southern Oregon rep, Eugene, Roseburg area. This is my second year, and I really love serving. Thank you.
Tom Johnson.
Hello, gentlemen. Good morning. I've been on this board for, I don't know, 10 years?
13 years, Tom.
13 years. Okay. Well, see, time flies when you're having fun, doesn't it? Been a member of the association for 13, 14, 15 years. Love every part of it. The association's great. I'm here at the High Desert. Anybody needs anything, anytime, let me know. I'm here to serve and help you.
Thanks, Tommy. James Strohecker, our newest board member.
Good morning, everyone. James Strohecker. I'm in Portland and I'm an at-large board member. I was a former member of the Northern California Lacrosse Officials Association Board. And while I was there and on the board, we were focused on increasing our game fees, increasing the amount of training and recruitment. So I hope to be able to enact that here with this board and for all of you. If I can ever help or guide you or talk with you about any game or situation, give me a shout.
Thanks, James. And our ninth and final board member is Mr. Locke Chandler. Locke is a physician for Providence Medical. And
You can be here though.
Peter, I'm putting you on mute. My apologies. Our ninth board member is Locke Chandler. He is a physician and he is called to duty. And so he will be making up next week. He apologizes for not being here. Locke serves as our treasurer and is the fiduciary of our board, helps keep us balanced and the like. Now is our opportunity to hear from all of you. And so I want to go over one other piece of information as we go through kind of how this meeting is going to work. We have a couple breaks built in, gentlemen. So I can imagine, like you, I've sat down for a 4-hour training and just gone, holy schmoly, is that for real? It is a long training, but we built in some key breaks. We varied, Derek, putting you on mute. We have built in some breaks. We built in some key times for different training methods and the like. So we're really hoping this goes fairly smooth. Nobody on this board is unaware of the fact that it would be our preference to be in person with all of you. And we know that personal interaction is part of the bonding process. It's part of what for years has made us such a tight group. But I want to give this board a lot of credit. They also recognize during the Omicron spike that we're going through right now, coming in, drawing a group of, let's see, we're at 59 right now together in one central place could be potentially catastrophic for the health and wellness of you as members. And so this board elected to do this training virtually. Our intent is to have our veteran trainings still occur regionally in person. If that changes, we will let you know. One of the key pieces that I'd like to remind all of you is the communication channel, and receiving your emails and engaging when you receive them is very key. When I hear from your district vice presidents and the like that they have not yet heard from you or received a response when they reach out via email or text, it's a bit concerning. We are officially in lacrosse season, so I'm going to ask a professional courtesy of all of you, and that if you are reached out to by a board member or somebody in your region, if you'd make sure to give them the courtesy of a reply. It is just know, I'm sure Mr. Harrigus, Mr. Poole, a number of others who have sat for years on this board will assure you there is a lot of work that goes into this. And when you send off communications and you hear code blank from your teammates, it's challenging. And so if you would know, we're in lacrosse season right now. We're going to be on the field together on March 14th for opening night face-off. And so we really just have about a month and a half to prepare for the season. And we want to make sure you're engaged and that you're replying to your different reps who are reaching out to you, really in hopes of making sure you are plugged in. Those of you who have your cameras turned off, Mr. Neil Reinen, would you like to address that? Or do you have a game plan? By the way, there's no better sergeant at arms than Mr. Reinen. And although he does not wear that title officially, if you're not scared of Mr. Neil, you haven't met him yet.
So we do want guys to be at this meeting. Cameras being off isn't going to work. Understand guys going for a bathroom break or something like that, but let's keep the cameras on. Otherwise, we'll be having a conversation.
It's like getting sent to the principal's office, and that's an awfully big principal. So guys, help us out there. Know that our board is tasked with making sure each of you go through a compliant training compliance. And that means being engaged on the cameras and us verifying and knowing that you are watching, engaging, and it just helps the rest of the group know that, hey, we're all going through this together.
Hey, Tom, can I ask you a quick question?
Of course.
Derek is not able to get on. He got knocked off again. He can't
Derek
get on his
Scroggin?
laptop. Yeah.
I'm
I don't know
staring
if
right at
anybody
him. He
else-
looks great. He looks like he's in his kitchen.
Okay, all right. I guess Derek, I'll text him that, and I'm not sure what's going on there. Sorry.
Oh, no worries. Todd Marshall says he's having a little bit of camera difficulties. He's here and he's working on it. So guys, we're going to go through a brief self-introduction. It's important, even though we're not in person, that everybody meets each other and gets to know each other a little bit better. And so I'm going to call your name, and if you would, these are the 4 things we want to hear. And by the way, we want to hear them in very quick order. Your name, the region you serve in, your years of service or approximate thereas, and your my one thing. And what that is this year, tell the group one thing you want to be better at in the 2022 season. So I'm going to start with one of our Sage veterans, Mr. Ryan Newman.
Unmuted. Okay, cool. Hey guys, I'm Ryan. I'm in the Portland region or in the Eugene region or wherever I get sent because I live pretty kind of south and I will split districts north and south. This is my 15th year, I think. Started in 07 with the group. It's been great to see everybody over the years. One thing I think I want to work on is being a good mentor to our newer officials and hopefully help them pick up little things, good habits and good techniques, and just try to help.
Thanks, Ryan. Hupper, Jim Hupp.
Hello, I'm Jim Hupp. I think I'm 5 years in now. I work in the Salem region, and one thing I want to get better off is on the new face-off mechanic.
Great. Thanks, Jim. Leo Gonzalez.
Leo Gonzalez, be my 12th year. I've been off the last 2 years. Just try to get better, the Salem area, and just work on the things that I've forgot.
Thanks, Leo. Welcome back, Jeremy Fishner.
Good morning, fellas. Jeremy Fishner. I live in Sherwood, so I don't know my region. It's either Portland or Salem or Bend. Any place I'll go, I don't really care. I love doing lacrosse. I've been off for a couple of years. My daughter's playing lacrosse, so I'm just thing I want to get better at is knocking the rust off and trying to get back to where I was before.
Great to have you back, Jeremy. Speaking of welcome back, Mr. Carter Olson.
Hey guys, I'm Carter. I refed when I was in college for about 2 years, I think, and I took 2021 off after I graduated, and I'm back. I'll be in the Portland area now, but I'm also willing to do Salem games too because I'm in Tigard. And I guess since I took a year off, my one thing would be to just kind of dive more into the book and learn more about the crazy situations in lacrosse now. So yeah.
Thanks, Carter. Mike.
Hey, Tom.
Yes.
Our Carter's all grown up, isn't he?
Yeah, he sure is.
Great to see Carter. Awesome.
By the way, Carter is a former JO. Love it. When you start early, you stick with it. Mr. Mike Paul.
Hi, good morning. Mike Paul from Central Oregon, Bend region. I've only been in a couple of years and I look forward to really learning the game a lot better.
Thanks, Mike. Devo, Devin Bentz.
Hey, Tom. Hey, guys. Devin Bentz, Portland area official. This is my 6th year. really enjoy it. I'd like to get better at the pregame and leading a pregame with a crew and making sure that everyone's prepared and ready to take on the field.
Yeah, Devin's emerging crew chief, and what an incredible young talent. Great to have you here, Devin. Mike Brooks, what are you working on this year?
So Mike Brooks, I think this is 10 years this year. I'm working on communications with coaches and the table.
Great. One of the OGs from the beginning, Mr. Craig Poole. You're on mute, Craig. Let's hit that space bar, should work.
Tom, I think you muted him. You're gonna have to unmute him.
Yeah, let's see if I can do that. Try it one more time, Craig. Can you hit your space bar? There you go.
There I am. Craig Poole, High Desert, 20 plus years. I've kind of lost track. Biggest thing I'm working on is continued game management, working with players, officials, coaches, and the table.
One of the greatest lacrosse officials you gentlemen will ever work with, and a guy who still wants to get better every single game. Mr. Chris Davis.
Holy, nice beard, man. A little short, but looks good. I'm proud of you. Chris Davis, I started it in 09, so you do the math. I live in Albany, and position.
Nice, Chris. Brandon Wen.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. How y'all doing? My name is Brandon Wynn. I don't know how many years I'm at, but I'm in the Portland area. And I'm just what do I want to work on? I don't know. I think I want to get exposed to many different unique situations as much as I can to hopefully be a good leader with those and maybe some younger refs that I'm trying to bring up. So that's what I want to work on this year.
Fastest man on turf. Great to have you here, Brando. Mr. Reinen, what are you working on this year?
What am I going to work on this year? I think I'm going to work on transition.
Great. Dr. Chesar, what are you working on this year? You're muted, John.
Yeah, what I'm going to focus on this year is making sure these kids can be kids on the field, trying to make the game enjoyable. This has been a rough time for all of us. We need to get back together again and have fun together, and that's going to be my focus this year.
Best atmosphere in lacrosse, working with John Chesar. Mr. Peter Dempsey. And you're muted, Peter.
Oh, there we go. Hi, Peter Dempsey, Central Oregon region. I don't know, somewhere between 11 and 17 years, I'm not sure. I want to concentrate on safety of the game. That's always been a big issue for me, that the players come out of the game healthy. So that's my focus.
Great perspective from a former very high level player. Great to have you here, Peter. Speaking of high level players, Jimmy Sabara.
How's it going, everyone? I'm Jimmy Sabara. I think this is my 8th year in the High Desert, and I think this year just continue working on getting those counts right on transitions, like Neil was saying, and just making sure we get those offside calls right, because they take forever to count in my mind. So always good to work on that.
Pair them up, counting twos. Mr. Strohecker, what are you working on this year?
I am working. See, I have notes I've created. See, this is me. So this year, I've been doing it. I'm in Portland. I've been doing it somewhere in teens. For me, it's about getting better, learn something every week. mental preparation is always important for me, and leave work behind and leave the game behind. But if you don't learn something from the game, then something's wrong. So mentally prepare, but always take something away and get better.
Thanks, James. Mr. Huber, in addition to telling us what you're working on, could we also receive just a brief update on our patriarch, Mr. Fred Zenson, and his health issue? Well, Don's figuring out how to unmute. I'm going to introduce Carl Yao. Carl's joining us, first year official, new to officiating, and Carl will be working on surviving his first year. Boy, we've all been there, Carl, and we can't wait to see you out there. Welcome to an incredible group that's going to make sure that happens exactly. How we doing, Donnie? Not quite yet. Scotty Weir.
Hey guys, Scott Weir, Portland, 7 years, and I really am going to work hard this year on communication with my fellow officials, with coaches, and I also want to just keep working really hard on mechanics, the things you learn from first year to whether it's some of you guys 20 years, or just the things that we always need to keep working on as officials. Thank you.
Great to have you here, Scott. Thank you. Mr. Todd Marshall. Okay, Mr. Nick David.
Good morning, gentlemen. Nick David. This will be my 4th year, kind of hybrid. I live in Canby, so I'd like to do a little more Portland, Salem, rather than drive all the way down to Eugene from Tualatin. It's not a fun exercise, but to concentrate on just off-ball mechanics, especially as a trail, just kind of picking up that off-ball action, making sure you're not missing any whammies.
Love it, Nick. Thank you.
Thank you.
Spaceman, Sporty Spice, George Spicer.
Hey, George Spicer, Lane County, Eugene, Oregon. I think this is my 13th season. And I also coached in the OHSLA. Officiating is my favorite this year. I'm going to work on the speed in which I get up and down the field.
I love it, George. Look out for George. If you take a photo with him, make sure to push his heels down. He likes to appear a little taller than he actually is. Mr. Verding, what are you working on this year?
Yeah, morning, guys. Let's see, Kyle Verding. I'm up in the Portland area. I'm on year 8, I believe, as an official. My big thing this year is getting into like the weeds of the rule book, like those weird situations of if this, then this, why this, because he did this. Just those really odd situations, kind of focusing on those.
Great, Kyle. Tom Carney.
Hey, good morning, everybody. It's nice to see all of you. This is my 2nd year, and I'm out of Portland. And the big thing I'm going to be working on is not being a ball watcher, making sure I'm working my zone, making sure guys are protected. If I do that, I think I'll have a big improvement over this last year. Thank you.
Great mindset, Tom. Thank you for that. Donnie, looks like you're unmuted.
Yeah, I don't know if you had me on mute or what's going on, but
no, sir. I wouldn't dare.
Well, little update for many of you that knew Fred Zenson. He ended up having a stroke this last week, and he seems to be recovering very well. I haven't talked to Judy personally because I think she's probably pretty busy running around. And everything goes off at once. But anyhow, this is my 22nd year, and my hope is just to survive.
Donnie, there's survival and there's thriving. We're going to make sure you thrive, my man.
Sounds great, guys. Looking forward to it.
Paul Stevens. Paul, we're not hearing you on our end. Apologize for that. Hey, Paul, we're not picking up your audio, so maybe put it in the chat. It keeps saying connecting to audio on our end. Mr. Mark Monson.
Mark Monson, Portland area. I think this is 7 years. I really want to work hard on being a better crewmate.
Love that. Ricky Robke.
Rick Roki, Salem area, 15th year. I'll work on pregame communications and duties with the crew days before. So when we as a crew show up to our game, we all know the bullet points that I want to cover for our game, for that specific game.
Love that. Great crew chief thoughts on that. The Dean of Mean, Russell Dean.
This is my 15th year in Portland. 15 sounds about right. As far as things to work on, I want to know the game and not the rules, but know the rules. Work better on my game management with coaches.
Thanks, Russell. Andy Klump, welcome back, Andy.
There we go. Sorry about that. Yeah, so I'm Andy Klump. You see, I refereed for 2 years and then took, I think 6 years off. I actually started when Kyle started. Got a lot of friends on the board, so hey, everybody, it's great to be back. The thing I'm going to work on is just trying to relax. I definitely have an anxiety problem when I'm refereeing, and so that's going to be my big #1 thing.
Andy, you're wonderful to work with on the field. Have confidence, my man. Great to have you back. Mr. Craig Lyons.
Spacebar wasn't working. I'm Craig Lyons. I am in the Portland region. I'm way up north of Vancouver, so I do a lot of stuff up north. And this would be my 15th year. And my one thing will be to stay focused for the entire game, regardless of the circumstance, just like this meeting.
Shots fired. Mr. Patrick Brittenham and a special guest, it looks like.
Yeah, good morning. Patrick Brittenham, been repping since 2010 with a couple of years off from the Portland area. My one thing will be consistency in calls from the beginning to the end. And I'm here alone this morning. So this is my 2-year-old Saoirse. So she'll be part of the meeting.
Great to have her here. Great to have you here, Patrick. Jack Shunn.
Good morning. My name is Jack. This is my 2nd year. I work in the Salem area. One thing I want to work on is my technical fouls. So advantage, disadvantage.
Great job. Jack was one of our rookies last year and just had a stellar year at another junior official product. Wonderful to have you back, Jack. David Christensen.
Good morning. I'm David Christensen. I'm in the Portland area. This is my 2nd year on the field, so there's many things to work on, but I think I want to be louder and work on better communication.
I think he said he wanted to be louder.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Not picking you up too well, Dave, but very apropos on being louder. I love it. Ian Thompson.
Morning, I'm Ian Thompson. I'm in the Portland Metro region. This is my 2nd year, and this year I'm going to work on my crease play and watching that a lot better than last year.
Great. Mr. Albin.
Aloha from the other side of the river. So, yep, Ken Albin, been with the association, I guess now 11 years. And my one thing is getting back to Hood River to be able to give you guys a big hug. I mean, I've missed it. I mean, I've been busting buns over here on the east side. There are very few officials, so I do games 5-6 days a week, and I'd love to take the drive over to Hood River and give Donnie and John a big hug. So look forward to it, and also snuggling up to that big black coat you got for me, Tom.
Oh, you're going to be seeing that here in just a bit, Mr. Ken. Let's see, Mr. Harrigus.
Good morning, Nick Harrigus. This is my 14th year. I think game management is going to be the thing that I'm working on here in the Portland area. Looking forward to getting back together with all y'all.
So are we, Nick. Let's see, Mitchell Dean. Mitchell, we're not picking up your audio at all. You're unmuted, but not hearing your audio. Mitchell, will you work on that a little? We'll circle. Jared Mitchell.
Hello, hello. I'm Jared Mitchell. This is first year was the COVID year, so I don't know what that makes this. This is, I think, is technically year 2. Or this will be, yeah, year 2. I think what I'm working on this year out of the Portland region is overall just game management, and then specifically coach interaction for sure.
Love that. Aaron Carroll.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Aaron Carroll out of the Salem area. It's yeah, my second year also. I think the one thing I'm wanting to work on is just slowing the game down a little bit and being able to recognize the fouls and call it with confidence.
Thanks, Aaron. Michael Busain.
Morning, everyone. Michael Buisson here. I moved from the Central Oregon area over to Eugene. I think this is technically my 3rd year, even though I missed one with the COVID year. And my one thing is being comfortable communicating with the coaches.
Nice. Love it. Welcome back, Mr. John True, former board member.
Hi, I'm John True out of the Portland area. 13 active years, I guess out for the last 2. So mainly getting back up to speed with the new rules and getting back on the field. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, we're looking forward to seeing you, John. Brian Kuta.
Hey guys, Brian up here in Southwest Washington. So I'm working the North region, 5th year. And amongst the many things I'm working on is trying to keep my eye on the inmates in transition when this water buffalo is trying to keep up with those gazelles like Brando and Bobby Ware. So
love it. Joshua Simpson, great to see you, sir.
Hello, good to see you as well. I'm my 3rd year or so with the Salem region. And the one thing I would like to work on this year is protecting the players when they're going in to shoot or pass, especially in the box.
Love it. Mr. Tommy Johnson, what are you working on this year?
Well, this year I'm going to work on many things that I've learned from Craig. Keep learning, keeping the crew focused on the game and the tasks at hand, and bringing them together on the field so we're more cohesive.
I love it. Shane, what are you working on, and why don't you introduce yourself to the group?
Hey everyone, Shane, folks in the Portland area. This will be my first year. So transitioning from being a fan, a father, a coach, and all that other interactions with the game to the officials' point of view.
Great to have you joining us, Shane. Mr. Chase Brand.
Chase Brand, Portland area. I started reffing in the 90s with Fred. He trained me, and so thoughts and prayers are going out to him. Was an original member of the OLOA in 2004 and 5, and then have taken a couple of years off to raise my son and coach youth. Getting back into it, and what I'm working on this year is getting rid of bad habits from the old days when it was a little more freewheeling, and not trying to do the whole thing by myself.
Great to have you. Certainly one of the most talented officials in another sport. We'd like to welcome Mr. Mike Patton to our group.
Hey, good morning. Mike Patton. I'm from Canby. Brought in by Neil, so I'll be working under his wing, I guess. So, like I say, first year and had a couple of kids play, so I know just enough to be dangerous. So I got lots to learn here, but yeah, I do have a little experience in another sport. So look forward to working with you guys.
Mike's very humble, one of the best football officials in our state, unequivocally, and will bring a lot of natural poise to the field. Great to have you here, Mike, and Neil, as always, great recruiting. Eric Crosby.
Good morning, gentlemen. My name's Eric Crosby. Here in downtown Portland, and it's gonna be my first year officiating. Been around the game my whole life and coached and played in college and looking to get back. Thanks for having me.
Welcome aboard. We're looking forward to having you. Josh Murray.
Can you hear me?
We sure can.
All right. This is my third year doing high school and my 8th year total, I think now. Started back in my junior year of high school. Played a little in college briefly. I'm down in the Eugene area, and I'd say establishing rules early on in the season with all the players is really important. Any rule changes, making sure it's really clear. That's what I'm going to work on.
Great. Austin Bosworth.
Good morning, everyone. Also started out in the OLOA as a JO, member of the OHSLA. Let's see, years of service, too many to count as a young guy. I'm here in the Eugene area. I've managed to find a way to get myself back on the field as a player, so I'll be a full-time member of the University of Oregon men's lacrosse program. But I'll be getting on the field with you guys as much as I can in the spring, especially in the summer. I'll definitely be working on transition play and just confidence in those calls that I'm making. Thanks.
You got a nice little important scrimmage this afternoon. We'll see you later. Johnny B.
Let's get you off mute. Good morning, everybody. John Bongiorno. I'm down in Eugene. This is year 5, maybe 6. I don't know. I lost track with the COVID years. I'd say probably I'm working on communication. It's the sort of the gateway to consistency and calmness, I think, across the board with coaches, players, and of course the crew. So communication is a big thing this year.
Thanks for being here, John. Kevin Campbell.
Yeah, hi everybody. Kevin Campbell. I'm in the Portland area. It's my 4th year. Nice to see everybody back. I think what I'm working on, I've been off the past several seasons. So some of you have just mentioned that consistency around the rule changes, especially like the quick restart, and just making sure that I'm integrating myself into the flow of the game and not slowing things down out there and gaining that confidence with those rule changes.
Great to have you back, Kevin.
Thanks, Hoff.
Mike Bozeman.
Good morning, Mike Bozeman, Columbia Basin. I couldn't tell you how long I've been officiating. Just what I want to work on this year is better rules interpretation, just kind of getting the nuts and bolts of things.
13 years, Mr. Bozeman. Great work. Bobby Weir.
Hey, Tom. According to our website, this is year 20 for me. I'm in the Portland region, and my goal this year is to help elevate our young guys. I've been super blessed to have come up under Fred and Brian and Russ, and they've passed on so many good lessons to me, and I'm hoping to help pass along the lessons they taught me to our younger guys.
Love it. Thank you, Bobby. Okay. During this exercise, a whole bunch of my screen jumped around about 30 times. If I did not call you, would you please unmute yourself? And it was not my intention to miss you, but if you would unmute yourself, and so we can grab those that we missed. Did I miss anyone?
Me. Derek Scroggin.
Go ahead, Derek.
I'm Derek Scroggin. It's my 7th year in the Salem area. And the one thing I'm going to try to work on is trying to keep my head up during dead ball officiating. Keep a better eye on the players, better eye contact with my other 2 officials, and just, a better presence during that dead ball transition period, because a lot of stuff goes on there.
Love it. Great to have you here, Derek. And I know you're having some technical difficulties, it sounded like, but we're hearing you loud and clear. At this point, gentlemen, and I appreciate their patience, I want to welcome in.
We've got a couple more, Tom.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Paul Stevens.
Hi, I think, is my audio working now, Tom? Can you
It
hear
is.
me now? Okay, I'm Mitchell Dean. It's my 4th or 5th year in the Portland area. This year I want to work on making sure I'm in the right spot to make the right calls and then trusting what I see.
Thank you, Mitchell. Great to have you on this call. Who else did I miss, Hubie?
Do you guys have me now?
Yes.
All right. Paul Stevens. I'm up in the Portland area. This will be my 3rd year as a member, 2nd year actually reffing. And what I'm working on is actually recognizing those fouls sooner and getting the flag out. A lot of times I'm a little late on it. So getting them out sooner.
Great, Paul. Great mindset too. Love it.
Can you hear me now, Tom?
Yeah, Todd, we can.
Sorry, had to go get a coat to get back into the garage here where my camera is. So I'd say, I think this is my 4th year, 3rd on the field. I'll be, my son is a senior this year, so I probably won't be reffing as much because I'm going to want to watch most of his games, but going to be working on my fouls on the shooter. So concentrating on that, not ball watch so much. So, and I'd say I'd probably try to improve my announcing skills as well.
If you're ever at Sunset, he is the voice in the sky, and nobody backs officials better than that voice in the sky. Love what you do there, Todd. Thanks so much. Anyone else? Great. Great to have you all on. Mr. Paul Schlesinger and Rick Gruen, gentlemen, I made you wait a little bit. Thank you for your patience. Gentlemen, the OLOA, our organization is in service to our parent organization at the OHSLA, and that is headed up by a volunteer board of directors that just do a tremendous work to make sure that we have a very special season. And so at this point, I'd like to introduce you to 2 of our commissioners who help set the course. I'm going to be real honest. I work with them a lot during the season, and these are both incredible gentlemen that take their time and really give back to this game. I want to give them some time to address things that are going on from the league level and give you a chance to hear a little bit from the head honchos, Mr. Paul Schlesinger and Mr. Rick Gruen.
Thank you, Tom. Is Paul on this call?
Yes, I am.
Oh, okay.
Good morning, everyone. I've got a few comments. The time allotment, we were supposed to start at 8:30. I woke up bright and early, and then I was supposed to give the mic back to Tom at 8:50. So here's the mic back. Anyway, I know this season starts when I get a phone call or an email from, well, it used to be Don and then Tom saying that there's going to be the OLOA get together prior to the start of the season. And I enjoyed coming out to Beaverton, to the Sports Center, to see you all guys in person, welcome you, give you a few comments, and hear about what's going on from your side, give you a 30,000 foot level from the league side,
and then get back to my family. So my intro, my name's Paul Schlesinger. What region? Kind of the state of Oregon. Travel here, there. I live in Southwest Portland, and during the season, try and get to as many games as possible. How long have I been doing this? I was putting my years of service, whether a player, an assistant coach, or working with the league, and I came up with 48 years and counting. My partner Janice, whom some of you met for the past few years, has been saying, when are you going to retire? And it's something that I continue to do and continue to tell Janice that, yes, I'm working on retirement. I guess my favorite saying and one of my favorite movies is Groundhog's Day. And it just seems like we're either a broken record or a Groundhog's Day that continues. So sometime next week, wishing you all in advance happy Groundhog's Day. The league is looking to have a full season. Coaches right now are looking on scheduling and moving forward towards the March 14th kickoff of the league. We're trying to be as normal as possible, whatever that normal is these days. As of this date, and taking our lead from State of Oregon government, the OSAA, CDC, OHA, OSAA, and the league itself, we're looking towards a full season. We are looking towards preseason, season, and an actual postseason of using both the championship bracket and the Cascade bracket. So we're pretty darn excited about getting the student athlete, the coaches, the officials, and the fans back on either in the stands or in the field, playing, officiating, and watching this sport that we all love. Key leadership, you have two of us on the call for at least part of it. Rick Gruen, player, coach, and an assistant commissioner in the Portland area. Jeff Melville over in Central Oregon, Sisters area, as another assistant commissioner. Joe Alexander, our treasurer for the past few years. Chris Van Hatcher is coach emeritus, whom I'm sure some of you have run into as coach at OES, and their athletic director, who's now retired. Chris has been extremely beneficial in helping us navigate what we have to navigate. One of the key things that leadership has been working on, and it's now up on our website. It's been a few years since we've reviewed and changed, updated our standard operating procedures. That's now on the website, and I would recommend in your free time taking a look at those. The other thing, Peter Adamson, who was our website manager, has moved on and is now working on a boat and cruising the oceans of the world. We now have a new not so new, he's been around for a while now, Ken Mason, who's been working with us, managing the website and working with Brian Platts to get up to speed. I will say that you're going to see, hopefully, new things, easier things to navigate the website and connecting. Ken will also be working on, when we get into the season, making sure that the website is up to date and making sure scores and other things are up there and they're on a up-to-date basis. My greatest purchase on an annual basis is this thing. And during my tenure as commissioner, I've made it a point that the league buy enough of the rule books to at least get a rule book to every varsity team. And along with that, the score books. And hopefully, if we can do the scorebook, score table work session in person, what we've done before is pass those out to the team reps that are there taking this important work session. So hopefully that'll happen. We all continue to monitor COVID, whatever strain we're dealing with, taking our marching orders from CDC, OHA, Oregon government, OSAA, and ourselves, and we'll continue to monitor that. We all hope that we will continue to be open, be able to have a full season and continue to do that. Those are quite a few other things. Scheduling, the coaches are working on their scheduling. And Ken has been working on the league calendar and schedule, which is up on the website, and I recommend looking at that. Our key thing is growing the game, continuing to, excuse me, keep the teams involved and getting teams. It's not exactly been easy, but we continue to do that and look forward to, as I've said, a full season. One of the things that I've said before, I will continue to say, and I think all of you that know me and have seen me work with the league and the OLOA, is that this is one of our most important relationships. The league doesn't exist without the officials, and the officials don't exist without the league. I've been blessed to work with three men in leadership position, Fred, Don, and now Tom, and we've all worked towards a good working relationship. Try and be as open to your side of the game and understanding of that, and that will continue as long as I am commissioner. The one thing that I'm working on is retiring, and you've got me at least for another year, and we'll continue to always be connected with the sport in the state of Oregon. Those are my comments. I'll turn it over to Rick for any other comments, and definitely looking forward to a full season, a positive season, a learning season for everyone, and just glad to see us together again, and look forward to seeing you all on the field. Thank you, Tom.
Hey, thanks, Paul. Good to see everybody. Many familiar faces, many new faces. It's really exciting to see so many new referees come into the association, especially when I see a bunch of you with 2-3 years of experience. You're poised to hit that 4th or 5th year and find your stride. And our game is better with you all being here. So I can't thank you, Tom, and the rest of the leadership of OLOA, as well as the officials around the state. Thank you. We can't do what we do without you being there doing what you do. And as Paul said, it's a great partnership. And so I just wanted to start off by saying thank you for being here, and thank you for loving our game so much that we all enjoy in whatever capacity. This is my second stint on the board. I've been assistant commissioner since I retired from coaching at Lake Oswego in 2019, and served on the board prior to getting on with Lake Oswego a bunch of years ago. So I've been around the game all my life, whether as a player, coach, official, raising a bunch of lacrosse players. So it's just part of who I am, and great to be here. A couple of things that Paul didn't mention that I know is near and dear to all of you is the Fritz Hayes Classic is back this year. It will be held at the newly renovated Westland Stadium. And this year different, we'll have 3 games at the Fritz Hayes Classic, bringing back the top 4 from last year's modified, whatever we called it, postseason, and also including Summit from the Bend area to round it out. So 3 games throughout the day. And as hopefully all of you know the story behind the Fritz Hayes Classic, but great to see that back again. We also did receive an application for the Final Four to be hosted at Wilsonville. That's not confirmed, but it's looking like we'll have conversations. But as Paul mentioned, we'll have a normal, our goal is to have a normal playoff schedule with in the postseason with both the state championship bracket and the Fritz Hayes bracket. The game over the last 2 years, we've seen attrition, we've seen programs drop out, we've seen probably a bigger increase in requests for co-op agreements. We're seeing, which is good and it's bad at the same time. Capacity is an issue. Our teams struggle with numbers, participation numbers have fallen. But it's also encouraging that we're getting just this season. We've been contacted by Gaston, Barlow, Gladstone, the new high school in Bend, Caldera. So our goal as a board is to try to do the best we can to within the rules of OSAA, putting co-op agreements together to allow participation from these non-traditional areas. Just yesterday, the AD from Barlow reached out. He's got a student, but what was really encouraging was the AD was interested. It wasn't like he was shrugging it off. He was hopeful that we can work with some of these ADs to help build programs. Particularly, I know all of you have mentioned through your leadership, how do we get East County, East Multnomah County, East Clackamas County with the program. So we're supporting the co-op agreements as best we can. Moving forward, during the season, one of my areas of responsibility as assistant commissioner is to work with the officials regarding those things we don't want to talk about, which is ejections, or we don't want to see happen. But as that comes about during the season, I'll be working with you to make notification to the offending player coach program and alert you all through communication so that by the time you get to the next game where that occurred, everybody will be notified so that we can make sure the penalties that were incurred are followed out. Some of my other duties in working with you as game changes come about, making sure that we have good communication in terms of alerting you to any schedule changes that come about, whether it's because of a school with COVID issues or our goal at the league is to minimize game changes. We know they happen. We've addressed through our SOPs penalties for excessive game changes, but for the game changes that do have to happen, it's just making sure we have good notification between scheduling and the league and OLOA. And then the other duty that I have, and it kind of ties to co-op agreements, but also working with all the programs regarding student eligibility to make sure that players that are supposed to be playing are playing, players that shouldn't be playing aren't. And one of the things we're really trying to do with our co-op agreements is making sure we don't have free agent situations out there where kids who do want to play, we want to make them play, but allow them to play, but legally play, so that it creates that fairness and equity across all programs in the state. I think I'll leave it at that. It's been a long morning of conversation. My one thing is just to continue to make sure that I communicate with all of you at the appropriate time so that your experience is the best it can be as the season moves on. So thank you, Tom, for the opportunity to speak. Paul, did we miss anything?
I think we got it covered. Rick, thanks for bringing up the Fritz Hayes.
Of course.
And looking forward to that, looking forward to having a full day, 3 games, as Rick said. And the most important thing that I'm looking forward to is seeing the officials officiating those 3 games in bright, colorful, probably not totally legal official gear, but definitely looking forward to that tradition happening again. Tom, Don, thanks for the time allotted, and good to hear that Fred is on the mend, and our thoughts and prayers are with Fred for a full, speedy recovery. Again, looking forward to seeing you all on the field and having a positive, educational, and exciting OHSLA season. Thanks again.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you,
Paul,
Tom, Don.
Rick, before you jump off, I just want to thank you, first of all, both of you, for your leadership. While I don't serve as an official board member on the OHSLA board, both these gentlemen invite me to every single meeting. They welcome my input. A couple things procedurally. Commissioner Gruen, Commissioner Schlesinger, and myself work on all game misconduct, ejection issues together. It is one thing for a league to get a game report and make a decision without input from the officials. These gentlemen do not do that. And we're going to talk later, gentlemen, about why game reports are so important. That'll come later in our meeting. The other thing I would like to acknowledge, and I'd ask our guys, gentlemen, please, a round of applause. These gentlemen, again, stepped forward and helped us realize in our contract negotiation our new rate structure for this year that you're going to see in a bit, as well as a bump in travel fees. Both Paul and Rick understand that it is a crisis situation with officiating right now. officiating across the nation is down 39%. While we are not personally down quite that much, you do notice that a lot of people around you said, hey, I'm here in my first, second, or third year. What happens is a very pivotal crash point at that third and fourth year where guys say, why am I doing this? This is not fun to do. We need to put the fun back in this profession. And I just want to thank and recognize both Paul and Rick for helping us do the small things from a pay and a travel perspective that keeps our guys engaged, gives them a small bump each year. And not all leagues are willing to be in dialogue with leadership from the officiating standpoint. So Paul and Rick, on behalf of our entire association of 71 members, thank both of you for investing in us as officials. Thank you.
Thank you.
With that, gentlemen, you're free to enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you guys so
Have
much.
a great meeting, guys.
As always. Okay, team, we're going to start rocking and rolling here. Paul and Rick, know that you each have one of these beautiful new jackets coming to you. And gentlemen at home, know that these are part of your new official uniform. And we are very excited. They are 100% waterproof. They're seam sealed. They have special plastic inserts where we did the stitching. So it's not gonna, not gonna be dry everywhere except for your breast pocket where the stitching is. These were well constructed and a great investment on behalf of you as members paying a portion of that fee. And the OHSLA provided a nice nugget of cash to help us get these in your hands from the beginning. So again, Rick, Paul, and please let Commissioner Melville know he has one coming as well. And we hope you wear them with pride. So gentlemen, we're going to transition back into, let me go into share screen real quick here. And I want to talk about jackets, which are now in hand. We are going to be distributing those through regional reps. Don Huber will be handing out the Portland group. Mr. Reinen will be handling the Salem area. Mr. Brooks will partner with the Eugene guys. And Brandon Merrick is going to be transporting over to Tommy Johnson the high desert jackets. Those are in hand right now. She's 6 huge boxes full of brand new jackets. We were able to order a number of extras for new officials coming in the next few years. Undoubtedly, some of you like to have backups to your backup. You can get a replacement jacket at any time for $55. As you are aware, you paid $40 and the league helped us pay for the difference there and get the seed money in to get these jackets. But gentlemen, they are required uniform now. We wear them onto the field and off of the field. They're to be zipped up. We're not going to get too cranky about this, but we made a huge investment and we want to make sure we look the part. The days of us wearing 7 different colors of black or with limited print, blacked out print, those are over. So you'll be expected to wear that jacket just like you will be expected to have on stripes. Please take care of your jacket and treat it as such. If you need to reorder a jacket, please reach out to me. I mentioned the replacement fee is $55 and payments can go to Lock Chandler should you misplace or have an issue with the jacket, or some of you just want a backup jacket, which is certainly understandable. There are a number, and I'm going to read this group of individuals who have not yet paid. And while I apologize for putting you on blast, I'm hoping this will actually stimulate a very quick payment and get this wrapped up, because we have, where the heck, oh, I put it under jackets. We have payments already made now. And so the association is actually sitting on a payment already in order. And so if you haven't paid, darn it, us in the association are kind of footing your bill. Let's see, that list is Payden Alley, actually, Payden has moved to Mississippi, so you're off the hook. Jesse Andres, Chris Bergen, Dave Curfew, Mr. Mitchell Dean, Cujo, Josh Murray, Craig Poole, Benji Rothenberg, Jimmy Sabara, Ian Thompson, Gary Van Zent, TJ Vandervelde, and David Voss. If you would, log on, send it to Lock Chandler. We need a check for $40. That's our commitment. Thank you, gentlemen. Okay, let's talk vaccines and booster requirements. We will be following OSAA policy in accordance and guidance by the OHSLA Board of Directors. What that means is all officials will be required to be vaccinated and have their booster shot if over 6 months since your first vaccination. Of course, this information is confidential and private to you. So we will have a portal that I'd invite Mr. Verding to tell you about right now. And note that this information will also come out in email to you, so you don't need to memorize it now. Kyle, will you tell them about the submission portal?
Yep, absolutely. So what we have done is created a separate email for you guys to send your vaccine cards to. All we need is just a picture. And all, like Tom said, all of this will be in that email with specifics. But the way we're going to do it is there is a separate email you'll send it to, so it stays off of all of our personal email. Only Tom and I have access to that. We are the only two people that will be checking it. And as we receive those, I am downloading those images. We are storing them on a separate flash drive. So none of that information is anywhere in the cloud, anywhere kept offline. Will all be kept hard copy on flash drive. So that is the plan for how we will verify. I will be going through and double checking to make sure, so we'll have it in a big spreadsheet. And as we get closer to assigning games, that's something we'll be following up on. We will have some requirements for making sure we've submitted all that stuff in order to get assigned, but you guys will hear about that in the future as well. Thank you.
Yeah, Kyle, thank you for setting that up.
Oh, and one additional, sorry, if you have already sent me yours, because I did get a couple, I have forwarded that to there and already taken care of it. So it's off my account, you're good to go.
Great. If you would like to, and you have a very compelling case for a religious exemption or a medical exemption, you need to send that request to me privately. Those are going to be reviewed by Kyle and I confidentially and on a case-by-case basis based on parameters we've been provided by the OHSLA. An exemption may be awarded. There is no guarantee of an exemption following OSAA policy. One of the challenges we face, gentlemen, that you must understand is certain schools, regardless of whether you have an exemption, will not allow non-vaccinated individuals onto their facilities. So you can imagine the work that Tom Johnson, Don Huber, and myself as assigners would have to do if you are unvaccinated, i.e. we can't put you on certain games. It will be an incredible amount of workload. That does not mean we will not be accepting exemption requests, but please reach out to me directly should that be something you wish to explore for religious or medical reasons. And just so you know, you will have to provide proof of that. I saw a question come through. Mr. Ricky Ropke, you had a question about the booster status.
Yeah, you said we're following OSAA requirements on this. OSAA is not requesting boosters. They're only doing vaccinations. Because I'm not boosted, but I'm able to do all OSAA sanctioned events. So you might want to look into that again.
We did. And according to Neil Reinen, who looked into multiple sports, you can expect in other sports, Rick, that booster requirements will be required after 6 months after initial vaccine because they're showing that after a certain amount of time, the vaccine essentially wears off and you need to be boosted to still be vaccinated.
Douglas County Basketball has asked for us to be proof of boosted. So that's OSAA.
Gentlemen, we're following OSAA and we are very clear on the parameters they've provided. And I see Mr. Schlesinger nodding his head. Yes, we've done the research. I want to actually personally thank Neil Ryan for leading that. We are going to be compliant with OSAA and they are asking for boosters if it's been more than 6 months since you've been vaccinated.
Tom and Kyle, can I just interrupt for a second? First of all, thanks for going into more detail than Rick or I did, but I appreciate that. The one request that I would have of Tom, you and Kyle, could you include us in the email that you're sending out to your members of the OLOA about vaccinations? The league at this point doesn't need to know specifics about every member of the OLOA, but just so that we have on file of your outreach to your members, so that not if, but when either parents or others get a hold of us, that we can say OLOA is in lockstep with the league and the state of Oregon and the OSAA. And again, do appreciate the comments.
Yeah, certainly, Paul. We will keep you apprised of that. And I try and CC you on most of our communications as long as it is not mundane and specific only to officiating. Question from Mr. Lyons, and then follow up with Mr. Poole. I'm going to take Mr. Poole's question first. Will masks be required? No, they will not. Masks will be worn onto the field from departure at our cars into the facility and up until the start of live game, in which masks may be removed and not worn during game situations. During halftime, when you come over to the table, you will be asked to put your mask on because you'll be in close proximity to volunteers. And then coming out of halftime, masks can be removed again for gameplay. And then after the game, once you come to the table, you'll be asked to don your mask until which time you are fully back to your vehicle. Question number 2 to Mr. Alliance. Will officials be notified if they've been assigned a game with an unvaccinated official? Craig, we do not have a perfect answer for that yet, but the board is talking about that. We understand the risk mitigation that needs to occur. Quite honestly, we're very much hoping as a board that there are not any, or if there are very, very few requests for exemption, and knowing that we have the backing of the OSAA and OHSLA, all those exemptions will be evaluated to see if they're appropriate anyways. Gentlemen, we're not trying to get in your private lives. This is not a political thing. We're not, just flat out, we're not in that space, but we do have a commitment to keep fellow officials, student athletes, and coaches safe in the environments we're working on. Mr. Lyons, if you would allow our board to have a little more dialogue after we get a handle of whether we have any officials requesting, I'll be able to give you a much better answer. But we do, and it was discussed, if there is some risk and what type of exposure and clarity we need to provide officials for who they're working with. The key for us is protecting the integrity of the confidentiality while not putting you as officials at risk being around each other. Long and the short, I'm not ready to answer it totally, Mr. Lyons. However, we have started that dialogue, and trust us, we'll be having much more. Okay. Anything else on that front? Great. Thanks, guys. Let's go to share screen.
Hey, Tom. Tom.
Yeah, Mike.
Real quick. So Josh had a question where the jackets money needs to be sent to. I just put it in the chat for everyone, the address of Lock Chandler. So please make out your checks and send it to Lock.
Yeah, and there are very few officials who haven't paid yet. You heard the list. Let's get it wrapped up and done. I don't want to be bird dogging grown men. We know the commitment we all make, and I'd like that to be wrapped up in short order. Okay. All right, let's get into some of the funner stuff. And that would be what I've always enjoyed calling Hoff's Heroes. This recognizes officials who bring out the best in others. These are servant leaders who build others up and place. Well, I'm getting a lot of background noise. Guys, if you can make sure to mute yourself, I'd appreciate it. These are servant leaders who build others up and place the success of association and its members first before their individual successes. The theme, I lead because I love my fellow officials and I enjoy watching others achieve new heights. This year, gentlemen, I'd first like to recognize Russell Dean, who bows out as our secretary in the last for the last 5 years, 6 years, pardon me. Just did an incredible job. As the role of president, you need a team around you. And Russell, you have been a constant force of dependability and just really helped me do my job. And I want to just thank you and have our association recognize you for that great work. I wish we were in person. I could give you a big hug. I have a wonderful gift from US Lacrosse for you. A nice polo to thank you for your service, and the association applauds you, sir. The next individual I'd like to recognize joins.
Hey, Tom.
Joins
also,
like,
he's our SRI also, so an added role that Russell's always done and still continues to do.
Yes, our chief rules interpreter. Thank you, Neil. The next gentleman I'd like to recognize is Devin Bentz. Devin joins the fraternity of Chris Davis and Neil Reinen. Any game, I'll take it. And when you're in a pinch, if I'm not on the schedule, I'll be there. Devin, on behalf of the association, thank you so much for making the lives of us as assigners just a little bit easier. Guys, there's a lot of changes that happen during a season, and I know a lot of you try and help out and juggle as best you can. Like Davis and Harrigus, Devin just jumps on a game when we're in a pinch, and I sure appreciate that. Dawn, I know you deeply appreciate that, and so thank you, Devin, for that. I've got some nice things for you, Devin, courtesy of our friends at US Lacrosse. I've got a nice Team USA notebook. Got your brand new Fox 40 whistle with the nice soft pinch plate. So it's got the little cushioning for you, and just a small way of me saying thank you to you. And finally, I want to thank a group of 4 who really do something special that you probably wouldn't think about, but that's John Bongiorno, George Spicer, Tom Johnson, and Neil Reinen. To a man, all 4 of them fill out their rate the crew after every single game. For myself, first of all, those are very private. Those are only viewed by myself, Don Huber, and Kyle Verding, formerly Russell Dean. They provide us great feedback for what's going on with our troops in the field. And gentlemen, feedback is really, really important for us. It helps us make our game assignments, helps us understand what's happening in different regions, get a great pulse on how the guys are doing. And Rate the Crew is something that I would invite all of you to really start taking an active participation in. It's your chance to give some feedback for how your fellow officials are doing. One caution I give you, if you feel your role is to get on and be critical and just dice up your fellow officials, that's not what we're looking for. Is it important to note things that our fellow officials could be better at? Certainly. But what we're really looking for is just feedback on how people are doing in their interactions, any key flashpoint moments that may have happened. And it really provides us the opportunity to know things that guys are thinking in their minds and help us with some of our training topics. So John, George, Tommy, and Neil, I've got some nice gifts for all of you. And when I see you next, I'll be able to give them to you. Neil, you're laughing. What's going on there?
Can I take what's behind door 4? I'll take that Pal jersey in the background.
No, you want that? Oh, I
Yeah.
figure you would have wanted the brand new Colin Squires game used right there. Oregon zone in the PLL. So, well, Neil, I'll make sure to find something extra special for you. Extra special.
Hey, Tom, can I add something real quick to that?
Of course.
One thing that I find important too, that I add, is not only things that are maybe, points of emphasis that are deficient. Also, when something's done really well, I make sure to note that in there as well. It may be, optically somebody sees a game from the stands, they don't think of the minutia of what's going on. So if you can say, hey, they were really great about tallying score and keeping track of penalties on the game card or whatever, those little positive things also helps a lot in the training aspect too.
Yeah, and gentlemen, this needs to be a safe place. I really mean it when I say the only people that are able to see this are Kyle, Don, and myself, and we really do keep that information in-house. I can think of maybe 5 times during the entire last season where I needed to reach out to one of our members due to a game report. What it is for us is really a litmus test of where we're at, how we're doing, and key issues that our officials are facing on the field. But it's great feedback, and it will help you start to think differently about your own game, because you start to think, boy, what would my teammates be commenting about my game? And our effort is to drive forward greater success. So really appreciate you gentlemen for filling that out, and invite you guys who are not doing that to jump in and start. Okay. Let's get into our what I call our HOF topics for the year. And, in the past, these have been fairly aspirational. This is a unique year. So I'd like to go into one of the things that we are going to deep dive in our veterans training. But gentlemen, we got to realize this is a real stressful time. And these kids and coaches, but especially the student athletes, there is no normalcy anymore. They've been taught from home. They've come back to school. They've been sent back home. They have online learning. This is a unique time and nothing is normal anymore. We know that inconsistencies at school and at home lead to inconsistencies in interactions. Don and I were having a conversation last night. Even some of our friends are acting weird. It's just pandemic fatigue. So we're going to deep dive in veterans training how we handle very unique situations. Vice President Ryan mentioned that he just got through a football season that he has never heard more F-bombs before. Does that mean that's okay and we allow that to happen on our fields? No. But being in the mindset of how we get ready to handle these situations is going to be very key. Unfortunately, coaches know now more about masking requirements and social distancing than they do about running their offenses and defenses. We are in unprecedented times, so we are going to have very strange interactions, and we need to expect that. So how we prepare ourselves mentally with our mindset and how we prepare ourselves to react is going to be very, very pivotal. Number two, when you hit turbulence, slow things down and assess. This is a longtime mantra for pilots, and it holds true in officiating as well. And Russell Dean is somebody who has spent a lot of time in the air working with very high skilled pilots, probably likes seeing that first opening statement. We need to resist the tendency to speed things up and get the fast restart, or just get play moving, or avoid the conflict altogether. Let's meet with our crew to get it right. Sometimes slowing things down becomes our collective lifeline. In times of elevated emotion, disharmony, and confusion, they are depending on us to have a nice flat line, not get too high, never get too low, and to professionally and accurately assess the situation to create a sense of calmness. We know we're playing a high contact sport. We know we're going to have student athletes and coaches going through the emotional roller coaster. We're dependent on to be consistent, calm, and the voice of reason, or what I like to call, we're the sane center. So when you hit turbulence, slow things down a little. We are not on a national television contract where officials have 13.5 seconds to get a play called, reported, and moving forward. I'm not saying every time there's a little commotion, you gather the whole crew together. But when those moments spike, when there's some confusion, ask the question, do my crew members know all the information that they need to be able to adjudicate things properly? Crew chiefs, ours, you have to set the tone on this. And so sometimes just slow things down a little. Say, hey, coaches, give us a second. We're going to talk about it. We don't want to hit a pause button multiple times during a game. But what is catastrophic is to get it wrong due to pace. Let's be right. Let's take a moment to slow down and talk to our peers and then break positive. Regardless of what the crew comes up with, we all walk away knowing we're on the same page. Topic 3. If you want consistent results, you need a consistent approach. Star officials have a uniquely different relationship with training and preparation. From engaging in training classes, studying the rule book, strategic physical activity, engaging with those that they emulate, their mentors, or officials they want to be like, that they know are high performers, and asking ourselves and others, how may I get better? Our game length is 48 minutes, and yet we're there almost 2 hours, aren't we? Our task is managing every minute from arrival to departure. And yet, gentlemen, we can never overstep our duties or responsibilities. I'd really ask all of you to take a hard look at yourself and go, how am I preparing each and every day to be ready for this season to start? Am I preparing myself mentally? Am I preparing myself physically? These are key things that separate out good officials from great officials. I've been blessed to have incredible mentors in my lacrosse life. And one thing that to a man, every one of them has, they look at this time we're spending today and in the veterans training sessions as really, really important, just as important as the first game and opening face-off. Read that first line again. Star officials have a uniquely different relationship with training and preparation. All right, we've buzzed through those a little bit because I got to catch us up a little. A collective roar from the crowd. Let's talk about what we accomplished in our contract negotiations with Mr. Schlesinger and the OHSLA board. I mentioned in partnership with OHSLA, each year, Paul and I start a series of phone calls, and Paul has been great to work with in this behalf. He understands the unique challenges that officials face. Gentlemen, this year we received a 3% bump on our varsity rate. All of you will earn over $65 per game. L2Ss, we're a small group. We're held flat. JV, this is a big win because I'd argue JV games are some of the toughest games we do. We got a 3% bump. We're now over $56 a game. JV games are not afterthoughts, gentlemen. We need you to be prepared mentally for what you're going to see by players who are either learning the game, getting better. They've got, maybe somebody wants to make a big impact on their coaches. And how do we do that? Those big showtime moments. JV games are really important, not just for our development, but the mindset's got to be there. And we're getting paid appropriately for that and starting to bump that up. In addition, I'd like to show you what we did on the travel fees. We moved up 3 cents per mile on out of zone travel. And in addition, the Bend area moved up 50 cents for interzone travel, and Portland, Wilsonville, Salem, Eugene, and Medford all bumped $1.50 per trip. Gentlemen, gas prices heading into this summer are going to hit. I do a lot of analytics in my work, and we're going to be nearing $5 a gallon come July. I know a lot of you have moved over to electric vehicles. If you have the means to do that, applause to you. But a lot of us are still driving those tanks that we need to fill with petro. While these rates are certainly not going to make all those trips free and clear, these small bumps up are going to help us kind of cover and recoup some of those travel costs. We know that this is a unique year. There is not going to be much carpooling for a lot of reasons. Number one, we're geographic all across a large state. Nobody's necessarily in high density neighborhoods where we can swing by and pick each other up. And quite honestly, we're trying to make sure we socially distance and be safe. So I want to thank the OHSLA leadership for allowing us to have some bumps in our travel fees. All right, we're getting close to the good stuff. We got a very, very special guest that I can't wait to introduce you to shortly. As I mentioned, Treasurer Chandler is not able to be with us today. I'd like to give you an overview. We are a very, very simple, fairly simple budgetary group. We bring dollars in and the dollars exit the system. This is not a board that has ever had a huge reserves or nor trying to build huge reserves. Basically, if we bring it into the membership, we want to put it back out. This document will be available online for those who'd like to look deeper into it. But I want to thank Mr. Chandler for keeping us always in a good fiduciary. Locke is a great fiduciary, keeps us in a solid financial situation. And a credit to the board. We do not spend what we do not have. We do not rely on any credit. We have no line of credit. And basically where you see income coming in is from you as members who pay a small portion of your game fees goes back to this association to support the activities essentially of ourselves. We look forward to welcoming new members. For those of you that are seeing a document like this for the first time, here's what I'll tell you. We're fairly rudimentary, but we're always above board and with great integrity. If dollars come in, they go back out to our membership. And our board really pays close attention to our expenditures because quite honestly, we're just like all of you. We just want this association to function, to be on stable financial grounds and really do pass through for the most part. One of the areas we're very excited about and talking about as a board is we hope to return to bringing a Laredo to the Northwest in 2023. It won't happen this year. There's a lot of transition that has occurred at USA. It's going to take a long time for me to break the USL, but the USA lacrosse, a lot of transition has occurred, as you are aware. Charlie Overmeyer is no longer with USA. Rick Lake and many others are still working there, but we'll look to bring a Laredo back. We know the expenses of what that means, but we just see incredible value of hosting a Laredo. So know that your board is looking at that for 2023. Any questions on the budget, gentlemen? Kyle, could you let me know if any have come in the chat?
Yep, chat looks good.
Super. If you do have questions on how your dollars come in and out, gentlemen, please reach out to Locke or myself. Should be very transparent. And as the former treasurer myself, I really appreciate watching what Locke does, because it's simple. It comes in, it goes out, and keeps our association on stable financial ground. Okay, Mr. Chessar, let's talk about the Fritz Hayes Memorial Games that Commissioner Schlesinger gave us a preview on.
Yeah, so Rick and Paul addressed the logistics of the Classic, but just a word on why it exists. Fritz Hayes was a wonderful man. Don said that just a few days ago. Those of us that knew him would certainly agree. Fritz and I first met 25 years ago as co-chair of a Boy Scout troop at OES, and our friendship continued into lacrosse. He was a much respected official, a gentleman who cared about the kids. He was suddenly taken from us July 1st, 2009. Well, the lacrosse community quickly came together to honor him with the Fritz Hayes Classic. The Classic will be held this year, as Rick and Paul indicated, at Westland High School on April 9th. All the proceeds go directly to support youth lacrosse and development. Money is going their way as we speak. It's good lacrosse in a communal setting, and if you're lucky enough to be on the field, enjoy the moment. Otherwise, set the date aside and try to be there. It's a wonderful way to spend the day with lacrosse community.
John, would you give a preview of the slate of games as we know it today?
Yeah, as I understand it, you're going to have traditionally they take the top 4 teams from the prior year and they compete. This year there'll be a third game, and that will those teams will come from outside the Portland area. As I know it, that's the details. I don't know the teams. Does anybody know the team? Well, I've forgotten the teams from last 2 years ago. Who knows now?
Hopefully you guys are seeing that up on your screen. Can you confirm? Okay, Birding saying yes.
There it is. Sorry, I'm looking here. Yeah.
Gentlemen, here's one thing I'd like to say about the Fritz Hayes Memorial Games, adding on to a great work by John. First of all, Fritz was an incredible gentleman. And I know a number of you, probably over half of our association at this point, never had the opportunity to work with Fritz or meet Fritz. Nobody was more committed to junior official development than Fritz. And that's a fact. And I look at the work that Bobby Weir and Nick Harrigus do now with our junior officials programs, and we'll hear more from them later. But Fritz set the tone. The league really freezes scheduling for the most part on this day. And I would invite you, if you're not on those games, come be a part. Come watch what occurs there. And know that myself and Don and Tom Johnson, what we assign on this is individuals who have been very involved in youth lacrosse. I know there's a lot of requests I get to work these games, and Don gets a lot of requests. Know that we're very strategic on these assignments. Maggie Hayes, who you see in the center between Don and I in that picture, it's a real hard day for her. And she tries to make an appearance each and every year. Imagine losing your husband to murder, and every single damn year, a group of officials want to throw a big party for him. And it is an emotional day for her. If you see her, she loves to hug, but know really the background. For the sake of time, we're going to move on, but I, myself, Don Huber, John Chessar, John True, we'd happy to be sharing the story of Fritz with you. It's an intimate story. Brian Platts always put it best. Fritz was never our best official. Fritz
Can I
was
add
a, go ahead, John.
I was just going to add this. I'm looking at Fritz now, and if he were here and he knew what was going on, he would smile just like that. And then he'd put his arm around me and pull me to the side and try to help me, help give advice about my last game and how it could have been better. I love the man. He was dry sense of humor. We all miss him. It was just, we all miss him.
Yeah. I think the most exciting thing, gentlemen, is we are going to be making a $1,000 donation on behalf of the OLOA, all of you, to the OYL. And that is to develop future junior officials on behalf of our association, direct to the skilled hands of gentlemen like Bob Weir and Nick Harrigus, Ross Lancaster, Brent Suhu, so many others who are developing our future talent. And on behalf of our board of directors, to a man, we are very proud to write that check this year. And I would not be surprised if that is something we look to do on an annual basis. So thank you for the board and their support. You know what, Neil, and these, for the sake of time, we have an incredible guest coming up at 10 o'clock, guys. I mentioned we're going to have a break. Hey, 3-4-minute break. Right now, I need to ask everybody, it is just vital that we are back on the line as a group at, how about 9:58? That's 4 minutes from right now. Quick break, gentlemen, and we'll see you in 4 minutes. Potty break time. Okay, gentlemen, welcome back, everybody. It is my distinct pleasure on behalf of our OLOA Board of Directors, gentlemen, to introduce you to a gentleman who has helped shape a number of our lacrosse careers, and probably one of the kindest, most thoughtful clinicians and trainers. Allow me to introduce Michael Highland. Mike Highland is a lacrosse enthusiast with a main goal of helping others achieve their personal goals through the game of lacrosse via coaching, playing, and officiating. Mike Highland's career in lacrosse spans almost 50 years, from youth, collegiate, club midfielder, through coaching youth and high school teams since 1983. Along the way, Mike Highland picked up a whistle and a flag occasionally and officiated games throughout the United States, England, Turkey, Hungary, Canada, and Finland. Although a Philly boy through and through, he and his wife Colleen raised 3 children in New Hampshire and Maryland. Mike currently resides in Southern Maryland and remains active in lacrosse development. For those of you who have had the opportunity to attend to Laredo, where Mike Highland is the head clinician, it is off the hook. Don and I, when we apply for Laredo clinicians, Mike is our first pick each and every time. And God willing, if we are able to do Laredo in 2023, Mike Highland will be one of our featured clinicians. Mike is incredibly humble. You've seen Mike on TV, Division I games, Memorial Day weekend, you name it. Mike is incredibly accomplished at his craft, but Mike's favorite part is helping other officials become great at what they do. Being average is not in the cards for Mike. Mike realizes what we do as officials is incredibly critical and important work. He is dedicated to sculpting great officials across the nation and does so humbly. Mike is the type of officials all of us want to be like. And I personally would say I never once imagined that any of us from the Northwest could get anywhere on the national scene. But without Mike's encouragement, I never would have applied to go back to Sparks, Maryland, and compete for a slot for Team USA as an official. If you are ever looking for somebody who is so interconnected with the lacrosse network, Mike is your guy. He'll take your call. He's just an incredible leader. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like you to introduce our speaker today, Mr. Mike Highland, coming out of Maryland. Hey, Mike, just so you know, we do not have your picture on screen, so I don't know if you're, there we go.
Can you hear me, Tom?
Yeah, Mike, we're good to go.
Okay. Well, thanks for the introduction. I've asked Tom if any questions come up in the chat room to throw them at me. I don't mind interaction. I really want to thank the Oregon group for having me today. I'm so excited. When Tom and Don, contacted me the other night, asking if I could spend some time, it's not a question of yes or no. It's just how long can I talk? How long will you let me go on for and pontificate about being a lacrosse official? So with that, I'll advance the slides here and hopefully we'll get this going correctly. I'm working on a new computer today, so I'm having a little bit of difficulty trying to figure out the slides. Okay, can you see that advanced slide? Did it advance for you, Tom?
Yeah, we're in great shape. We just saw it, Mike.
Okay. So an intro, outside of that lovely introduction from Tom, who is Mike Highland? Well, it's important to know, I think, officials' backgrounds. I think it's important to know their birth orders. I think it's important to understand where they're coming from, why they actually have a flag and are bold enough to wear stripes. I'm one of 7 boys raised in South Philly. It was a really interesting upbringing with no sisters. I'm number 6 in the 7, and my mother had the first 6 of us in 7 years. So I had brothers, 7, 6, 4, 3, 1, and I was the infant. It was quite the time back in the 60s and late 50s for my parents. And then we had the typical Catholic, 4 or 5 years later, where we had number 7, Jimmy. All of us are involved in lacrosse. Many of us played in college. There's a few of us still actually active, a couple of lacrosse coaches. And if you look at that brother's picture, the one second to the left, Larry was our oldest. He has passed. He was a pathologist up in Michigan and actually started the Michigan programs up there for officiating and a lot of the youth lacrosse. So steep in that, as Tom mentioned, I have 3 children. All 3 are engineers. Ironically, I'm actually an engineer by trade, and I have 2 electrical and a civil engineer. And there's my beautiful wife, Colleen, and she puts up with the 4 engineers in the family. I started out as a player. I think most folks like myself that got involved in the game started out playing this game. It was a lot of fun, and I really thought that I was going to make it. I played through high school. I was recruited, and I had a choice of universities to go to. I chose the Air Force Academy. And in 1982, unfortunately, I took the wrong hit, and I ended up in the Air Force Academy Hospital. I had fractured my vertebrae, and that was part 1 ending of my career. And I left the academy and went to Drexel University, played a little bit, but never was the same due to my neck injury. Fast forward to 1989, I had another operation, and then just last year, I had another neck operation, and that's really dampened a lot of my movement of my neck, all stemming from that 1982 hit. So what do you do when you can't play, right? You choose to stand on the sidelines one way or the other. And quite honestly, I was already coaching in the early 80s when I got out of the academy and was at Drexel, because I was a commuter at Drexel in Philly, and started coaching youth lacrosse and loved it. And then when my kids got involved, I even went to another level. I had select teams on the East Coast. I had 9 teams one year. I was coaching 5 of them. We had 225 players. Colleen and I ran it out of our dining room. It was a nonprofit. It was a lot of fun. I brought teams all over the East Coast, but I also was the first team east of the Mississippi to go out to the Park City Shootout in Park City, Utah, and that was quite the fun. But ultimately, when you start having kids, I think you're looking for what now they call beer money. I called it diaper money. I was looking for money to help with my rent, handle things with Colleen as we were beginning a new life in New Hampshire. And I got into officiating. I'd been coaching the high school team in Derryfield in Manchester, New Hampshire, and I moved over to officiating. So it's a long-winded path, but it is a path that kind of describes why I officiate, the way I do. I thought it would be important to kind of steer towards some lessons I felt I've learned along the way. When I look at Oregon's Lacrosse Official Association, you have probably a top-heavy group, folks that have been around more than a few years, and you're trying to attract some new officials. But as myself, I'm on the twilight years, I just wanted to bring up some things that I've felt that have been important that I've learned. And one is that first point is that folks ref for different reasons, and that's okay. And I think I struggled at first on, well, you're not even a lacrosse guy, why are you doing this? Or, oh, he's only in it for the money. Or, oh, I don't think he's really dedicated to this. I think you have to come to a conclusion that it's okay, regardless of what reason somebody is a lacrosse official. The fact is they're willing to get out there. You do have some that they actually love the glory. They weren't that great at lacrosse, or they never played lacrosse, and they find that they can be the main man on the field, and they love to take control. You have others that are just service oriented. I think that was something that came out of the World War II generation that taught the next generation down, the baby boomers, was service to the community, service to themselves, service to schools, and officiating is a form of service. Some of us, like myself, got into it due to an injury, but you need to find out what the motivation is of the people you're trying to recruit and you're officiating with, and then use that with them. If somebody's motivation is to make money, which that is fine for young men and ladies. My son, I have an example there, Reed, on the screen. That's my son, Reed. He was the youngest official ever to be the head ref at a Maryland State championship for high school. He was 23 years old and he was the R. And he had two guys in their 40s on his crew. His total motivation was money. He was officiating at 16 and he was taking every game he could. When he bought his first house, he wanted to rip up these old floors and put in new hardwood floors. He called me and I put him in touch with a friend in Delaware. And next thing you know, he's traveling to Delaware 3 straight weekends and making about $1,500 every weekend. And that $4,500 put brand new hardwood floors into his new house, in his living room and in his hallway. And that's his motivation. But you know what? That's fine. Use that motivation and get them to then become a better official because of that motivation. Use it for them. Second thing I wanted to talk about is I think many of the best refs that I've ever been on the field with, or I've even watched officiate, have never been on the college. They've never been on a college game. So I think that there's this feeling. I don't like the use of patches, but I think we have to do it obviously for various reasons. But when we put on that college patch, I think there's a lot of high school guys that look over and go, oh yeah, well, here comes another college snob. Here comes, whatever it may be. And in Maryland, it was even sadder here that we moved to a red Maryland patch if you've ever officiated a state championship, and you only wear a white patch if you haven't officiated a state championship. I don't know whose crazy idea that was. I'm totally against it, because some of those white patched individuals in Maryland are better than half of the red patched individuals who just happen to be around long enough to officiate a state championship. And unfortunately, the coaches don't look at it that way. The fans don't look at it that way. The players don't look at it that way. They say, oh, he's got a red patch. He's good. You're a white patch. You're new. You're not any good at this. And I think that needs to be something you really have in your mind a lot when you walk onto a field. The best official could be doing a U11 game in Ohio at a tournament, and he may be much better than a gentleman who's doing a MCLA game or a nickel game or even an NCAA game, who just happen to know the right people to get in. So there's a lot of reasons why people don't move up. I think some of it's their home commitments. They may have a part-time job with their wife being the main breadwinner and they can get out a few hours. Maybe they can't travel. Maybe their career is crazy where they're just traveling too much, or they're a home business owner. Maybe it's just a lack of desire. They don't have it. And you have to understand that you think you're good because you got a patch, or you think you're good because you moved up. That's true. You probably are pretty good. But please remember that there's probably a better official somewhere out there who's working youth games and just is doing it for different reasons and motivations than you. And I think I see that a lot when I do these Laredos. I walk onto a field, whether it's been in Portland or Austin, Tampa. I did the international one where we looked at foreign crews from Australia and Japan and Canada when we were out in Vail. And you can see right away that some officials have propped themselves up and aren't that good, but other officials kind of don't believe they're as good as they are. When they walk on the field, you immediately see that's a guy that just dropped through the cracks, or he doesn't have the desire to be a college official, and that's fine. That even goes to the pros. You see these guys on the TVs and the pros, and I'll tell you, I've met many officials as just as good as them that never once wore or did a college game. So something to keep in mind. The third thing along your journey, I think you need to make this fun. You need to figure out a way that you don't depend on others to make this a fruitful experience. If you think others are supposed to, one, recognize how good you are, two, make you have a good feeling about yourself as you walk off the field, three, tell you you're really good over a beer that afternoon, well, you've come to the wrong group. You need to figure out how to do that yourself. And I was always fond of saying, fun follows me. I figure out a way to have fun. And in reality, you need to make this journey fun. And the examples I use for just fun, pure fun, is I was over in Turku. I was fortunate enough to represent the United States a few times. And the one time was in Turku, Finland for the U19s. And over a lot of libations, we found a bar called the Cow Bar. And the Cow Bar obviously is black and white. So we went right into the owner of the bar and we said, this is going to be the officials bar in Turku for all the officials that are here. And he gladly accepted because he knew it was going to be solid money coming in every night from these officials all over the world. But it was because of the black and white, and we just loved it. But we got into this heated discussion over who could throw a flag higher. And it was really a fun argument. Brent Coulomb from Canada obviously felt that he's the greatest since he's an NFL or NHL official in hockey, and he's been around and he was younger. We had a lot of the Australian officials who had some liquor in them saying that they were the best. Well, I said, let's just settle this. So we we walk up to the field about 2:00 in the morning, and we have the Australians, the Americans. We had I think we had a Frenchman, we had a few Englishmen, definitely the Canadians. We sneak in over the fence, and it's a lit field. They had lit it for the entire 2-week tournament, and we have the Japanese officials are up in the stands. They are the guys who are going to measure the flags that night, and we couldn't throw them straight, let alone throw them high. And it became this big argument over who could throw a flag later. So I end up fortunately be doing the gold medal game. And I was the American official. America gets official. Well, United States gets an official. Canada had an official, and we have a German and an Englishman on the game. And the Canadian official is Brent Coulomb. And Brent, says to me, we never settled it the other night. We all were feeling pretty pie-eyed. And I think I was the highest flag. And I said, well, Brent, you talk a big game. Let's just get through this game today. So there's this altercation at the end of the second period as it goes into to halftime in a 1-goal game. It may even been tied USA versus Canada in the gold medal game. And there's an altercation, and I come flying in and I whip my flag. Kids are on top of each other. I'm getting my hands in there. I'm pulling helmets apart. And Brent comes in and he looks at me, and I said, I threw mine first. And he goes, yeah, but mine hasn't landed. And all of a sudden you hear, his flag had gone so high, it was higher than the lights. And it took probably, 30 seconds to come down. And I'm bragging about a fast flag, and he's laughing about the height of his flag. And there's a picture of us that was captured by Canadian Lacrosse Association of the two officials laughing as we're both throwing 1- and 2-minute flags, kicking one kid out of the game in a 1-goal game. But it was fun. And you've got to figure out that way. I had an interesting occurrence in a Hopkins game. Like many on the phone, I see some reading glasses that have entered into our lives, right? Well, it entered my lives in late 30s, early 40s. I was putting reading glasses on, and I could not see my card. And I always felt kind of peculiar or anxious when I go out on the field and I'd ask for the captains, and I would write down everything on the card. Well, the reality is I was looking at the coach and I was never writing anything down because I couldn't see the card without glasses on. So I never wore my glasses. So I would just go like this and look like I was writing stuff. So I'd write down fake captains, and I would try to memorize the captains on the field. And then during the game, I never wrote down the timeouts because I couldn't see the timeouts. And I'm in this heated game. I think it was Albany Hopkins, and we were definitely at Hopkins. And Petro is screaming at me about how many timeouts. Do I have another timeout? And I don't know. And he said, it's on your card. Why do you carry those cards? So I pulled the card out and I threw it at him as I was running by. And I said, see for yourself. I can't see it. He quietly goes over and he picks up the card. And as I'm coming back up now as the trail official in a slow trail, he hands me the card and says, you're blind. And I said, I'm not blind. I just can't read that scorecard. He goes, it's true. You're blind, Highland. And then that was our big joke for the rest of the season is maybe I couldn't see, but it's the fun that you bring into it and you find in it. And you've got to figure out how to do that. I think officiating is not cookie cutter. I think you need to find your own personality. And this is what I'm a big fan of. You need to utilize your strengths. And when I say it's not cookie cutter, mechanics can be. I think we can try to be perfect in mechanics. There are times to break mechanics, but there's not an excuse. I don't care what game you're in. We talk about these JV games. They are the hardest games, right? You get in these U15 tournaments in the youth with coaches who don't know what they're doing or parents coaching their kids. That's not an excuse to not twirl your arm. That's not an excuse to not reset the clock. That's not an excuse to use proper signal. They're always givens. You have to. And I'm be the first one to point that out to you. You see me do something that I should do mechanically, but personality-wise, all of those other attributes, if you do your mechanics properly, it allows you to be so much more. It allows you to be yourself. There was a famous guy in Maryland. His name was Scott Boyle. And there's a game between Navy and Georgetown that's played every year. I happen to be in it and ref it a couple of times. And there's a cup. It's the Governor's Cup that kind of goes between the team that wins. And it was Scott Boyle, who unfortunately died at the Naval Academy in the middle of the game when he went in the signal goal. He fell right over and he died. And I had a chance to meet Scott a few times, and he was known as the governor. And he may not even have been that great of an official, but you know what he was? He was a salesman. He had the ability to know when to talk to the kids, when not to. And they nicknamed him the governor because when the kids dealt with him, they remembered him from high school. Hey, you were that from high school, or the coaches would come over and talk to him. And he just had that personality about him that he shared and actually made the game better because he brought his personality to the game. And if you have that ability to make the game better, to make the kids have better time, you know, at the end of the day, this is a game. And make sure you're not out there saying, oh, you know, I'm the head ref today and the other two officials aren't going to talk because that's the way it is here. Well, no, that's not the way it is here. We're going to change that. You need to go with the strengths, and you may have a relationship with the other officials that they have a better relationship with the assistant coach or one of the kids or one of the head coaches. Utilize that to be a better crew and realize that officiating has a lot of personality, and let it bring out the best in you of what you can do as in your personality. It's almost like, think of going back to the days of courting your partner, whether it's your friend or work or whatever. You're always on your best behavior, and that's the way you really want to be when you think about officiating. Number 5, I think you need to learn how to stay calm when the world around you goes to crap. Now, there are times that you need to step in. I put that picture in there because when we were in Finland, we had a huge altercation across the field. If you notice over my shoulder, there's officials back there. That's Lawrence Drill and Chris Clark from New York, and they were over in the box. And what we didn't realize is across the field, England and Iroquois were really going at it. And if you know the story back in 2010, in Manchester, England, the Iroquois were forbidden to come over because they didn't have the right passport. And if you remember, Cameron from the movie industry got involved, and these players got all excited about not being allowed in. Well, it was payback time. And when the officials came to a timeout, we blew the whistle. All the other officials, I had a Canadian, I couldn't have a Canada guy on the game, or I could have a Canadian guy in the game. So it was me, a Canadian, and I think I had a German on the game. They turned their backs. And I look across the field, and boy, there's some players going at it. And I came across. So you have that time where you have to be strong, but for the most time, you need to figure out a way to be the adult in the room when it comes to officiating. I like to use the term, I go underwater. I just simply kind of make my ears go deaf. I don't want to hear anything. I kind of just want to sit there and visualize, what am I seeing, and act like I'm maybe a fan up in the 17th row at a high school game. And I'm just watching what's going on. And I'm just listening on, okay, what are the players saying to each other as this is all unfolding? I had a great comment once by Ray Henderson. Ray was a Final Four official, and we got into a heated game at a community college, Anne Arundel versus Monroe, New York. And he said, you need to learn to talk quieter. And I said, I don't understand what you're saying. He had done a Final Four, and he said, well, I was having a problem with Tierney. He goes, and I realized if I backed out and went over to Tierney and I started whispering, Tierney stopped yelling because he wanted to start listening. And I continued to whisper over and over and over till finally Tierney stopped yelling and started listening, and he would actually bend in with his ear. And it took an unbelievably excited coach and brought him down to an even keel by just using a simple thing like talking quieter. So I learned when I went to coaches, no longer face a coach. I never did that anymore after that. I always backed out. I had him usually behind me talking to my ear, and then I would talk over my shoulder very quietly. And it did work. I can tell you it worked with Petro. It did work when I was in Denver with Coach Tierney, and it worked in many cases, and learn. I think sometimes we find ourselves on the field and we see an official who's kind of overwhelmed. He may have had a bad day. He may just be out of his league. It may be the first time he has seen this level. So I bring up the example of Reverend Bill Frick, and an old friend of mine. He's now a college coach up in Minnesota or Michigan. And Bill and I got into a high school game, and it was Landon. And I don't know if you've ever heard of Landon, but Landon's a pretty good team on the East Coast. They're in Maryland, and they had just won the national championship of the best high school team. And this other team from Philadelphia was coming down called Haverford School. And Haverford School ended up also winning a couple national championships that are theoretical. But they were really on the uprise, and they came down, and Bill and I get in the game. It ends up being 18 seconds left. It's tied game. The ball goes out on the end line, and Haverford School calls a timeout. And I'm the single side official, and I'm looking over to see how my two officials are on the other side. And Bill he's lost it. He's out of the game, and he comes running over, and he's like, Mike, oh my God, I'm gonna, almost like a heart attack look to him that, this was the biggest game he's ever done. And here we are going possibly in the overtime, or possibly, a 1-goal win for a visiting team. Sidelines are completely packed. There's reporters there. There's all kinds of college coaches that come down to watch the game because they recruit a lot of these kids. You have Petro there and not Simmons, but you had Danowski there. You had really a lot of big college coaches on the sideline, and I can see he's visibly upset and losing it. Well, he's a reverend, and we talk a lot about religion, and I'm a God follower. I believe in Jesus Christ and all of that. So I turned to Mr. Frick, Billy Frick, and I said, "Hey, Bill," I said, do you think Jesus woke up, stiff every once in a while in the morning? You think he, and he goes, "What are you asking me?" And I said, "No, I'm just wondering. I'm a guy, and he was a guy, and just kind of." He starts laughing. He goes like, "Hey, you're crazy. You're crazy." Well, right then I blew the whistle. Boom, we go to the sidelines. We do the game. The kid scores with 0 on the clock. We do a face-off just to make it look good. And we run to our cars. And I'll never forget him in the bar afterwards having a beer. And he's like, "You're out of your mind." And I said, "No, I calmed you down. I found a way to get into your world, Reverend Frick's world, and get you to get so calm when you were about to have a heart attack because it was the biggest game you ever did." So know your other officials, especially if they're less experienced, that maybe you can ask them about their kids. Maybe you can ask them about their job. Maybe something that gets them deflected. I know folks will say they don't agree with this sometimes, be like, "Oh, we got to focus on the game." Well, I agree. We're focusing, we're trained, we do our job. But at the same time, you really have to figure out a way how to calm not just yourself, but calm those that are around you. And that's coaches, fans, and especially other officials. You need to take the time to enjoy the little things about lacrosse. And this really comes from the heart. I try to do this every single time I walked on the field. What day of the game is it? Is it a Sunday? Is it a day where, your wife's going to come or your friends are going to come and see you? Is it the field? I was so excited to go to certain fields. One of my favorite fields was doing a game at Georgetown Prep, going to games at Landon High School. There's just something about them. You get into some big college games, and yeah, there's some games, but I'll tell you, there's nothing worse than going into a big field game at, say, like Ohio State. It's horrible. So you think it's great because it's a big game, but that's not the truth. There are intimate little fields like Georgetown. A lot of high school tournaments there I really like to go to. I always am watching the sky. I'm looking at clouds. I'm seeing what's my experience going to be like today. The fans, are the fans rabid? Are the fans funny? Are the fans cutting you up about your weight or you're slow or, whatever it may be? I always borrowed a game ball. The key word there is borrow, but really it's steal. I take a game ball all the time. I probably took, 5,000 balls over the years. And I give them away. And all those years I was coaching, I would, on the way out, if I forgot to take a ball, I would just take one off the end line. And I would go in the locker room, throw it in my bag. Typically, I would grab my pen and I would put on there, Towson and the date. And then sometimes I'd go back and look it up and I'd put the score on there. And then when I would go past youth playing or one of my kids playing, that I was coaching, I would give that ball to a kid who really needed that in his life at the time. We used to find the kids that, whether their parents are going through a divorce or he's having a hard time with lacrosse in general or just things, I would put on, that's a game ball. A lot of times I would tell the kid that it was the game winner. And it's amazing how, looking back now, I've had so many parents and even wives of some of the kids that I coached years ago saying, "So you're the guy who gave my husband those 2 balls. He still has them on his shelf." And she's talking about a 35-year-old man who has 2 game balls that I gave him as I walked off the field in the late 90s. So you need to take that time. For me, my best example was at a Final Four up in Philly, and I'm from Philly, so it was very important to me. And we get into the double overtime, It was Duke versus Virginia. And I don't think you could get a better game to end, your real big college career on. And this was it for me. I kind of knew it. And I'm standing there with my feet, I'm straddling the line. We were about to go to the second overtime face-off. We're waiting for the ESPN guy to signal that we're ready to go. And I look up in the stands, and there's my wife and my daughter and my brother, and they had been tailgating, I'm not going to lie. So they're dancing and they're having a fun time. And I just put my hand over my head and I waved to them. And the kid from Duke says, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm waving to my wife and my family up there." And he turns around and looks, and I said, "Where's your family?" And he points down, and there's this blonde lady in Duke gear, and she's screaming and yelling. And I wave to her, and he waves to her. And I look over at the kid from Virginia, and I go, "It's Pete." And I said, "Pete, where's your family at?" He says, "Mr. Highland, this is a lacrosse game." And I said, "Okay, it is." Right then, the ESPN guy signals. I put the ball down, blow the whistle. Petey DeSala picks it up, runs down the field, takes a shot, wins the game in double overtime, and I ran off the field. And I remember thinking to myself, it went from us looking at family members we loved and having fun to bam, game over that quick. So it does go quick. And make sure you take that time to find the little things that really matter to you on that field, whether it's a ball or it's whatever it may be. Never underestimate another official. I think this is a big thing that you need to understand. I think officials sometimes get wowed. And sometimes they'll say, "Oh, well, he's not from Maryland or New York or Pennsylvania, geographically challenged." And I know you guys deal with this a lot, I'm sure, right? "Oh, he's an Oregon official." Well, yeah, there was a couple of kids from Oregon who played lacrosse I heard were pretty good too, right? And they probably laughed at them at first. And next thing you know, they're winning Thornton Awards. And it's the same on officiating. We need to figure out a way to get rid of that. I think sometimes when I was a young official, I'd see the older guys that I wasn't moving up, and I'd be like, "Gosh, I can't believe these older officials are out here." Or as I got older myself, rounder officials, right? We get a chance to be a little round and say, "Oh, that official can't run like me. He shouldn't be out there." But at the same time, it goes the other way. I have been on the field with some of the greatest named officials there are in the country, if not the greatest, and I have seen them make huge slip-ups. They're not always great. I've seen some of the best fall over, head over heels. I've seen them make a bad call. I've had to come in and throw a flag when they miss something. So you need to realize that every official has a lot of, peeling back those onions of what makes him to be assigned to that game. He's assigned by the assigner for different reasons that you may not know about. You may not know his complete career. You may not see what that person sees. So cherish the fact that you're on the field with that official that you may not know much about. And then your job will be to get to know him over doing games with him. One of my favorites is I was coaching youth down here, and I started running a lacrosse program for officials in just Southern Maryland alone. We had kind of broken off from Washington, D.C. And I have this guy, Pierre, who really didn't play lacrosse, but he came in and he was a book guy. And I think we all know who they are. He was a book guy, a rules guy. And boy, I would try to teach, and he would constantly interrupt me and say, "Well, the rule says this, Mike." And I'd be like, "Well, you know what, take that rule book and throw it to the side, please." And we go over this, and he got to me. So one time I said I was doing a game at Navy. It was Colgate at Navy. And he says, "Hey, do you mind if I come? I'd love to watch your pregame." And I said, "Sure, Pierre." And I'm thinking, this guy barely can ref high school lacrosse. I just assumed who he was. I underestimated him. And he says, "I'd love that. I'd love to go." I said, "Sure." So I said, "Look, I need your social security number. I need to call the academy to get you in." He says, "Don't worry about it. I'll already be there." And I thought, "What do you mean you're already going to be there?" So I didn't think much of it. It comes to that Saturday. I get to the locker room, and he's sitting in the locker room. And I said, "Oh, Pierre, you're here." He says, "Yeah, I was teaching this week here. I was teaching physics." And I said, "Oh, I didn't know you teach here." He says, "Well, I was a guest lecturer." And so I get out to the sidelines, during the game, and I'm telling him where he can stand in the box, and he disappears on me. About midway through the second quarter, I'm like, "Where did Pierre go?" So I look up to the booth where Pete, the voice of Navy, is, and I see Pierre. He's up. He's got a headset on. He's actually on Navy radio. And here I am doing the game, thinking I'm helping out this high school official see a big college game, Colgate at Navy, and Pierre is up on the radio station. So he comes down in the fourth quarter, and I said, "Pierre, where the heck were you?" He says, "Pete asked me up. We did a little bit of interview on air." I said, "Pierre, I'm not even sure who you are." He says, well, I'm just a regular guy. And I said, Pierre, you want to go for beers and a sandwich afterwards? Me, Kevin Forrester, and I think it was Charlie Obermeyer. We're gonna head out and have a beer over at Stan and Joe's. And he's like, no, I can't. I have to have dinner with the commandant tonight, my wife and I. So I think something's up. So I take out my phone when I get to Stan and Joe's, and I said, I got to look this guy up. So if you look up Pierre Trudeau, well, he's a 3-time astronaut. He at one point had the longest walk of an astronaut of all US astronauts, right? Never tells me this. And it explained everything in one piece of knowledge. Once I found out he was an astronaut, I realized why he was so book driven. Because when I had conversations after that point, I found out that Pierre's life or death was around understanding every single word in the instruction manual. It was understanding to the nth degree, in and out, why something was written in that manual when he went to do a walk out in space, of what he would do if something went wrong. Think of Apollo 11 in the movies and all that kind of stuff. He was that guy 3 times. And here I am judging him and underestimating him because he asked a lot of questions in class. And it totally made me think a lot different. So don't underestimate it, official. I don't care how good you think you are, all right? You may run into Pierre Trudeau. So big thing you've heard in the past, and it's totally true. Don't be that good, but just adapt as needed. I think some plays cannot be officiated perfectly. The key one for me is when the attack goes to the crease with a deep pull on his back. I don't care how many officials you have on the field. It's almost impossible to get that right all the time, especially late in the game when you're coming off a big face-off and the kid goes down, the attackman, and there's a dive involved or a push involved. The other one is offsides. And I remember talking to Walt Muntz and Tommy Sutton from New York, and Walt always said, if you think the guy may have slightly touched that line on a crease on a game-winning goal and you call it, well, you're a bad official. Don't be that good. You need to figure out a way to say that game is over. The kid did everything he could. And if he just may or may not have nicked the line, well, he didn't nick the line. I talked to Tom Sutton about that when we were sitting in a rain delay at Loyola one year. And Tommy gave me this. I asked him about that kid going to the crease, deep pulls on his back, ball's in the cage, kid's in the crease, defenseman's there. I said, I just have a hard time. What do I do? He said, look at the scoreboard. I said, what? He said, look at the scoreboard. That'll tell you everything you need to do. I said, what do you mean? He says, well, if it's a tie game and the kid's in the crease and the ball's in the net and the defenseman's there, he said, it's no goal. Keep it tied. He goes, but if the goal scored ties the game, oh, it's a good goal. Make the goal scored. He said, that way, it's tied either way. Let the kids decide this game. Don't get involved. And it made everything easier for me around the cage, that if I didn't have a clear understanding of what happened, I could go back to what Tommy said. And it was really something that was heartfelt to me. The example I use with Towson and Navy is I had a kid shoot from Navy. And when he shot, the stick head came off. And the ball's going to the goalie, and the goalie moves out of the way of the ball and tries to save the stick head. And we know that rule. I was trying to be a rules guy. I blow the whistle and come in and real strongly go, nope, can't be a goal. The stick head came off, which is when the attackman turns to me and says, my stick head didn't come off. And it had actually on the shot ripped off the stick head of the defenseman that went at the goalie. Well, in a heated 1-goal game, you got to make a decision. So I adapted as quickly as possible. I threw the ball to the defenseman, I put him out in the alley, and I blew the whistle. Now, afterwards, I can be criticized for what I did, but in a raining game, 1 goal, stick head's coming off, and a goalie, I'm not about to let that goal go. So you need to figure out a way to know the rules, but also don't be so good that you overrule a good game because you want to be perfect. Find a way to adapt as needed to make the game move on and make everybody in the crowd and on the field happy. 9, remember that no one is there to watch you ref. And I can see some of the heads right now probably shaking, going, well, Mike, my wife comes, or Mike, my brother comes, or my kid comes. Yeah, you know what? They ain't there to watch you. No one. It's a lacrosse game. It's not an officiating game. Always think, how do my actions affect this game? Not about you. It's never about you. Don't make it about you. No gicks. Game impacting calls. Figure out a way to not make a gick. Find a way that at the end of the day, they say, man, those officials, man, they let them play. They did a good job. Yeah. hey, they crack down early. What you can't have is a game that's a beautiful game, and then at the end of the game, all of a sudden you want to put your stamp on it because you want to do a game impacting call. There's times that things are obvious you have to do, but you don't want those gicks throughout the game that may change the game, especially when you have white getting away with some 50-50s, 4, 5, 6 50-50s. The red team's really mad, and then you turn around and get red for a big slash after white just got away with 5 of them, right? That's a game impacting call. You've got to figure out a way using your voice, using your presence to get around that. Example I like to use just to prove that no one really cares about you on the field. I happened to do the Michigan-Maryland game one year, and some of the guys are probably laughing when I mention this. You remember me getting run over. So every year I would do a little tailgate at a game I did, whether it was at Hopkins or Maryland. Maryland was my choice because it was an easy place to tailgate. So I get there a couple hours early, 3-4 hours early, and we set up the tables, and we set up the cornhole, and we set up the beer and everything. And then I kiss Colleen, and I put my suit jacket on, and I go down to my game. Go through the pre-game, talk to the coaches. It's first quarter, and I get run over, and I shatter my shoulder. End of the season for me, 2017. I broke the collarbone, broke the shoulder, and I'm standing on the sidelines. Of course, ESPN captures it, makes me look like a fool. Which I was for being run over, but it happens. And I get to the locker room, and they bring me into the x-ray, and I'm getting x-rayed, and now we're into the second quarter, and a security guy knocks on the door and says, hey, is the official in there? And I said, yeah, I'm in here. And the doctor's busy getting the machine ready for the x-rays. And he says, well, I have your wife out here. And I said, I'll send her in. So Colleen walks in, and she's about 20 feet from me, and she's kind of looking at her shoes when she's asking the question. She wasn't really looking at me, and she says, oh, did you hurt your knee? I said, well, I don't know if you're blind, Colleen, but did you not see it from the stands? I mean, I got run over, and it's my shoulder. She says, oh, we weren't in the game yet. We were still out at the tailgate. So here I thought my 3 kids and my wife and all were coming to the tailgate, and they're all going to go in and get the seats, and they're going to watch me officiate the game. Just to realize that's not true. They came for the fun. They came for the party. They came for the Maryland game. And the only reason they came into the stadium in the first place is because my brother was watching it on ESPN, and he sent a text to the tailgate saying, man down, man down. So remember, no one's there to watch you. Keep that in mind anytime you think they are. All right. I want to talk briefly about some crew chief stuff. If I have time, Tom, tell me if I don't.
Go for it, Mike. You're clear,
okay.
Clear runway.
Okay. So I did grab some slides. Tom even said if I have some slides from some of the other presentations I've made. The other ones were just thoughts I came up with the other night. I think we really need to figure out how to come up with better crew chiefs. We as crew chiefs need to become better. It was a big goal of mine is to figure out how to become a better official. Right when I felt I got to college, I really felt that I was a horrible official again. It all come full circle for me of striving so hard to then find out that you're not as good as you think you were just because you have that OLOA patch on. So with the game still growing, and we have this unbelievable number of retirement of these seasoned officials, we're finding it difficult to find new officials. And I think one of the reasons is we don't go good crew chiefs. Crew chiefs tend to stick around. Is we only teach them the fundamentals at first. It's usually like, how do you survive a game without, having fans chase you to your car, or how do you figure out a way to get through the game without being berated by the coaches? And then we learn the rules and mechanics, and that's it. And then we unleash these guys, out in the civilization. And then sometimes we may get a chance to see them once or twice that year. But I've heard the question all the time, but aren't we all crew chiefs, Mike? And I don't agree with that. I think we all have, again, one of my first points, different reasons of why we officiate. And I think some just don't have the desire maybe to be a leader and to be a crew chief, and some don't have the skills. Quite honestly, I meet many of kids that I even coached that they just did not learn the skills needed to be a really good crew chief. And you think, well, gosh, it must be the academy type training they need to become a leader. And that is totally not true. It's different skills that are needed to be a really good crew chief and leader. It's not just a military type mentality. It's actually more of a rounded mentality, in my opinion. I think we don't put them in position a lot of times to become a good leader. We say, well, he's not ready. Well, how's he going to be ready if we don't figure out ways as an R to set back and become the umpire or the third on the field and let the other two younger, less experienced officials use their talents, maybe different than yours, to start becoming that next crew chief? And I think what happens is, unfortunately, in a lot of associations, is we have that pecking order idea that because you're a good official, well, then we'll make him the crew chief. You look at 3 guys, you assign him to the game. He's been around 5 years, he's 4 years, he's 1 year. Well, then the 5-year guy's the R. And if you think about that, that's no different than the Peter principle, at work, where we see somebody do a really good job, so then we promote them. And ultimately, you promote everybody to the point where they can't do their job. Because just because you're a good salesman doesn't mean you're a good sales manager, right? Just because you're a good manager doesn't mean you're a good VP. Good VP doesn't mean you're CEO. So you need to learn that if we use that method, a Peter principle method, all we do is create people and put them into places they really aren't good at, because then you don't have the guts to bring them back down. And that happens in lacrosse too. That picture there is of Salisbury versus Stevenson. That game was at Stevenson probably almost 20 years ago now. And it was one of the biggest games at the time. Stevenson was actually a really hot team. They were number 1 in the country. Salisbury was number 2. And the game was at Stevenson's new field. It was Easter Saturday. It was quite the game. And it ended up being a 1-goal game won by Salisbury. There's a lot of stories I could tell about this game. But when I walked into the locker room, there was a gentleman there who said he was the crew chief. He was the R. Well, I'm smart enough, I think y'all are in the room, to look at a computer and see who's listed as the R and who's not. And I was listed as the R. So I had to tell this fella that I was the R, and he said, well, I am today. And I said, you can leave and I'll do a 2-man game. And I'm prepared to do a 2-man game with the third official. It was Jackson was his name. I said, me and Jax will do this game without you, Ed, so you can leave. And he kind of calmed down, and I said, I'm not kidding. So I picked up the phone and I called the assigner, Charlie Libby, and I said, you need to talk to Ed about this because I'm the R. So we didn't start off as a crew, but I feel like there was a time where I really had to step up and say, this is my crew. So we get on the field, we do the game. The game was very controversial. There was a broken leg. We had 2 ambulances. We had a kid who punctured a lung, stopped a couple times. It was televised. And long story short, both coaches were unhappy. But when I looked at the box the next day, we had 12 face-off violations. 12, okay? Mike Highland, ref, had 0 violations. Ed had 8 violations, all against Salisbury. Jax had 4 violations, all against Stevenson. Is that a crew? Are you out of your mind? I realized right then that it was one of the biggest games I had ever been the crew chief for, and I failed. I failed. I didn't know what to say. And to this day, that game haunts me for lots of reasons, but it really made me say, I need to figure out a better way. And I started that pursuit of trying to find it. And one of the things that I talk a lot about in my life is, how do we define leadership? Is it being in command, or can we use followership and understand? And I think leadership doesn't work without that followership that you need in your life. I think some refuse to work within that crew, depending on the situation. In the case of that game at Salisbury Stevenson, Ed didn't want to work as a crew. It then put me and Jax in a weird position, and we ended up not working as a crew throughout the day. And if it was face-offs was the one statistic I can point to, if you could find every other statistic, it probably was in there. It was us being individuals who were fearful that we had a guy who wanted to be the R, and we had an R in Mike Highland who wasn't ready to be the R. And that really, really struck me as something to work on. I think we need to figure out how to get gentlemen to look at what stage they need to be in of leading or following, and see the value of doing both. I look at the crew on that picture right there, the Delaware Hopkins game, and it's Peter Buchanan, Keith Runk, and myself. We were having a great day, bantering with the kids. And there was no discussion over, I was the R that night. And it was just a great crew because we worked together. Now I'm talking one of the best commanders in the history of armed forces and police work, and Keith Runk. Peter Buchanan in the middle is arguably the best official I've ever seen. And here I am, happy to just be in charge of the game and work them through it. And boy, when you have that type of crew working together for a good game, these are the games that you write home about that are 180 degrees different than that Salisbury Stevenson game. So how do we get there? Well, I think we need to define success versus leading. And I think success is why the Peter Principle exists. It's why people get big egos about being promoted. It's everything you do before you're tabbed as a leader, right? It's you're working hard as an official, and all of a sudden someone says you're an R. All of a sudden, well, you feel now I'm a leader. And your success is really an individual. You're working hard at your job and you got some successes, and all of a sudden says, hey, I'm going to promote you. And then bam, what happens? Well, now you're a leader. And then you think everything in your mind is everything about your success after you've been tabbed the leader. And this is really becomes crucial, because when I was tabbed to be the leader and be the R, it was really about how the team succeeds. And when you get to that level of leading, the best leaders are happy. You know, when they lose that mentor to attain success beyond their own. I look at that picture of me and Pete and Keith. Keith's doing PLL. Peter's doing PLL. Peter's done the last 8 straight Final Fours, but I was the R all the time. When I was in Turku, I'm the one who did the gold medal. Pete did the 5th place game. So I looked at my relationship with Peter was to try to help him in different ways, to build his connections around the country with other officials, to talk to him when he had a question, just from experience about a coach. And my key takeaway was, how do you feel when that person that you're mentoring becomes better than you? They do better than you. They get better games than you. I don't do PLO, right? I didn't do 8 straight Final Fours. And the guys that were on my crew year in, year out, over and over, I don't think I was ever on Peter's crew. I was always the R for Peter's crew for 50 games together. But I was happy for him. I needed to learn how to be happy for him and not say, oh, wow, I'm the R year in, year out, yet he goes to the Final Four. No, it's I'm happy. That's my job as a leader. That's my job as a crew chief, is to make these guys so good that they get chosen to get that game. So it's tough, though, as an official to look at your own career and not get self-conscious of, why aren't I getting those games, right? Why aren't I the one, right? So some of the keys to leadership, real quick, this is Jack Welch stuff, and that is, more of speed is king. If you have to be mobile, you need to look at your organization ability to learn, to translate, and all of that, and you need to develop that talent. And one of the things Jack always talked about is the team with the best player wins. So you want the best crew out there. What's the best crew? Well, you certainly don't take your younger guys and then not train them, right? Jack always said that he was developing talent, and he took his top 750 people and he wanted them all to be trained in the CEOs. And yeah, you do have bad ones here and there, but the reality is you need to develop and you need to be candid. And that's where the Laredos come in. And Tom mentioned it, that we have to be very upright and upfront and say, look, you need to work on this. You need to do this. You need to do better here. You need to do better there. I loved when people give me feedback. Nothing frustrated me more throughout my career than asking for feedback when a reviewer was there and then him saying, oh no, you guys are great. What does that mean? I wasn't great. I need you to tell me what I can improve on. So when we look at the need for leadership in lacrosse, people always say, is it a requisite? Should we train our recruits and players, and do we expect officials to understand and follow when to lead? I think it's up to us. We can cultivate it, we can look for it, but we ourselves need to find a way to ourselves become good leaders, and then make everyone below us become a step up. I remember being told in one of my classes as a manager, I was an executive vice president of engineering, and they said, you can't lead a bunch of 7 and 8s on a 10 scale. If your employees, if you recruit a lot of 7 and 8s, maybe even some 9s, you can't be a good manager if you're a 5. You have to be at the highest level of the person you recruit. So if you recruit a bunch of 4 and 5s, you can be a 5. But if you recruit 7 and 8s, then you need to be an 8. If you recruit 9 and 10s, you need to be a 10. So figure out how to get there. So I think we have these natural tendencies when it comes to officiating of command and control. We love command and control, boy. And it's not surprising, right? We have these A-type personalities. We're salesmen, we're teachers, we're engineers, black and white, lawyers. But the reality is we shouldn't have this need to control, but we do. We have this need to control players and coaches and fans, and boy, you don't listen to us. We are literally dropping you with a flag, and we love to follow rules. So we need to figure out a way to get away from that. So we need to speak to the term crew instead of acting like individuals, but that's what we do, right? We say it all the time. We try to show that we're the best on the field because we want to get the assignment over the other two guys on the field. And evaluations and assignments are actually the best official gets the better grade. And then we sometimes turn around even worse. We let fans, coaches, and teams divide us. We need to figure out a way to do better than that. We appear to seem to get stuck in these successes along the way. It's a solitary process, right? Look at my schedule versus your schedule. Tom only got this many good games. I got this many, right? And I had that when I was a young official. People would call, what did you get? Oh, I only got 17 games. I got 18. Oh, I'm the R 12 times. I'm only R 11. You know, throw that shit out because it doesn't matter. I used to circle games that I felt were great crews, not the game. Some of the biggest games I ever did were the worst games I ever did. When you look at the teams that were in it, the best games I ever did were about the officials that were in that game. Guys like that Delaware Hopkins game. Delaware was down that year. Hopkins was going to blow them out. But I remember that night and being with Pete and Keith and just having a great day. I've got some other games where I was with a crew that wasn't a crew, and we may have done a number 1 versus number 2, and it was not a good day. So we need to figure out a way that although it is individual in some ways, you need to put that aside if you choose to be a leader versus just it's all about me thing. So I think we need to deliver more training. We're not taught it when it comes to leadership and following and when to lead, when not to lead. It's rarely taught in high schools or universities. Even the academies themselves are starting to teach followership more because of the birth order dilemma. We have a lot of only children, firstborn children will go in and become an official, and it's all about them. It's all about making that quick decision, and they are very good at it. Trust me, don't get me wrong, they're unbelievable, ready to be a CEO, but they don't know followership. And all the academies now have classes on followership because it's the one thing that they're not taught. They're taught about how to succeed, how to be good, how to make decisions, and how to be super smart. We need to figure out a way when they learn how to be a follower of maybe somebody who's not as smart as you, but it's his turn to shine on the field while you fade into the background. So we need to share those best practices through education. We need to come up with these mentoring programs. I think we need to train for the R right away, similar to the way I was trained to be a head coach when I was being an assistant back in the early 80s. The whole time I was positioning myself to be a head coach. So I was watching, I was asking for more opportunities to maybe run the defense or run the offense, run the box as an assistant. And I got to the point that I felt that I've done everything. I'm ready to be the head coach. Same thing as an R. You know, take that young guy, his 3rd, 4th game out of the box and make him the R. On the field, you can be the R in the back of your mind, but the reality is have him do the coin toss, have him talk to the coaches, have him talk to the kids, have him learn right away. Does he have the traits or what traits does he need? And you can give him good feedback on that. You need to understand that in our recruits. You know, you have a recruit come over from the military, there's a really good chance he knows how to throw a flag, blow a whistle, and take control of the game from a command point of view. But is he going to be able to step back and let you take control when he's the R, when it's your turn and you need to be the one because maybe you have a relationship with that coach that can get them further down the field into a really good game. So with that, I'll stop, Tom. I think right about 2 o'clock my time. Not sure we have time for questions and all, but I'll let that up to you.
Mike, awesome content. One of the things that we had happen, Mike, is we had a lot of great questions come in. I am capturing those, and if you are open to it, I'd like to invite you. I'm going to send those to you, and if you would just jot some answers, and I'm going to make those available to our guys via our website due to the time crunch right now. So, gentlemen, would you join me in thanking Mike Highland for coming to Oregon today?
Thanks, Tom. Well, you guys
thank you so much.
Yep, no problem, Tom. I will look forward to getting the questions, and then I'll give you back some feedback. I think there was one thing about the slides. I will send you those slides, Tom, to make sure you have them. And I think on the last deck, the one that's up there now is my phone number. You can text me, send me an email at either one of those addresses, and I will reach out. Typically within 24 hours, I'll be in your ear. Okay. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Mike. Awesome job. Okay, gents, I know, great questions, by the way, guys. Thank you all so much for that. there's a great feature on Zoom where we're gonna capture all those. It'll kind of be like a great read for all of us. We can look back, we can get Mike's take on those, and it'll be great for those of you who had, and by the way, super questions coming through. So I'm really looking forward to seeing Mike's answer. He is so damn humble, you guys. Mike has run the biggest games in the nation, and I've had Mike very critically observe my games. I know Pool's gone through it, Huber, Russell. You get a guy like Mike looking at your game, and it is just fantastic because Mike is looking to develop crew chiefs. And we love, as an association, and Oregon is very unique. Gentlemen, we purposely gauge how much you want to be a crew chief. Some of you, I love how honest you are. You say, hey, Hoff, Huber, Johnson, it's not really my jam. I'm a great at fellowship, and I love that. But other of you really yearn to run a game as an R. And we try and find those times to get everybody in the mix. But there is just something really unique about how Mike works with developing strong crew chiefs. And I love that work myself. I know a lot of you really enjoy that work. It is a huge responsibility because in the end, two guys are looking at you to make sure things run smoothly. We are one crew all the time. But there's got to be a person that just creates an environment there. And so we will get those answers out and get those published on the website. That being said, we need to make sure we allow our guys who are going through this exact same annual training next week to have the opportunity to not sneak in too much of the content. And so know that all of this will be occurring after next Saturday's annual training, because we do have a number of officials who are taking their annual training for the first time next week. Okay, gentlemen, we're going to do some major catch up, but I want to give everybody a 3-minute break. Let's join back. Look forward to seeing everybody back online in 3 short minutes. Thank you. Okay, gentlemen, hope everybody is enjoyed that presentation. I'll tell you, one of like we experienced last year, bringing in Tuck and RP, even though it's not ideal being over Zoom, it sure does provide us some incredible access to great talent. And Mike is best in class. We're going to do a little, gentlemen, we're going to do a little bit of catch up. Rightfully so. We dedicated a little more time than we had allotted to content from Mike and others. So one thing I want to say is we are going to, normally we would have a full dissertation on our conflict of interest, our independent contractors agreement, and our social media policy. I'm going to move that to veterans training. So Brooks, Chesar, and Ryan, I apologize for skipping over your sections, but due to time, we know we can encapsulate that at veterans training. So hopefully everybody's okay with that. So I am going to take us right now in. Love the fake applause. Bobby Ware, would you mind providing us an OYL update, sir?
Absolutely, Tom. I'll make this really quick. First of all, Nick, on behalf of OYL and Nick and myself, thank you guys so much that the $1,000 that the OLOA has provided to OYL is going to go to improve our officials. You know, already on this call tonight, we've got Brandon and Jack who came from our youth officiating and are now have, you know, two of our really bright young stars who make me really excited to be able to retire in a couple of years and know I'm leaving the games in better than I found it. So just talking about OYL and what we're going to be doing this year, because of COVID, and Nick and I will be holding all of our regular classes over Zoom. You know, we're training, we're changing our training this year so that and the guys who have trained for us in years past, that 6-hour class where by the end of it, everybody wants to die, the kids, the trainers, the parents, those are a thing of the past. So Nick and I are going to do, in conjunction, Kyle Verding has been super helpful, as has Paul Vos, and guys like Patrick Brittenham, and I know I'm forgetting folks, some of our professional educators. We're going to be reaching out because we want to make these good classes. But what that leaves is a little bit of a hole in our education. So those training dollars that the OIL has and some of the stuff that you guys have lent us is going to go to on-field training. Part of the certification this year is no junior official will be certified as a as an official without doing an on-field mentorship. And to that end, we're going to need you guys. We've already begun setting up inter-squad scrimmages where clubs are going to hold inter-squad scrimmages and bring their junior officials out. And we need you guys to come out and officiate, and you guys will help those young men develop into good officials. And to make sure that we've got this properly incentivized, the OIL is planning on $50 a game per official who comes out to help our junior officials improve. So that's our program this year, is migrating those training dollars from the in-classroom to on-field. Nick, do you have anything else?
Nope. Just want to emphasize that that's not just to come out and run the game. That's to work your butts off to help give feedback to those new kids, some of whom have never reffed a game of lacrosse. So it's not going to be a soft job, but it's totally a necessary job.
Absolutely, and expect to see an email later today, and we'll start gathering interest, and we're going to start lining up schedules so you guys can come out and it's a good way for preseason to get your mindset into the game and help these young men become good officials and make our youth game in Oregon as good as it can be.
Bob and Nick, thank you for leading this effort and for continuing to develop great future officials. Our board, it was an absolute unanimous vote to dedicate those dollars, and we entrust both of you that you deploy them appropriately and really continue to just allow these young people to see how fulfilling officiating the sport they love can be. Like Mike said, people officiate for a lot of different reasons, and one of the key ones for these young kids is money. And so on behalf of our organization, we just salute you both for continuing to push this forward. And I think as officials, we'd love to help out and provide some of that mentorship, especially if there's a little jing in it for all of us. So thank you, and we'll look forward to future updates on how we can be involved. Okay, Mr. Verding, would you take us through by the numbers and some housekeeping?
Yes, sir. You were looking at my favorite junior official up there. That was a couple years ago. He's now almost 4. And there's a second, which is crazy. We're going to get through this in 3 minutes or less. So Tom, let's go. So here are our number of officials. You guys can see, obviously, 2020, we have that weird aberration year. But last year we were down to 56 as far as an association. We knew we were going to be down a couple. We had guys that opted not to officiate last year. Hopefully that number is up higher this year, and it should be. Number of games obviously down last year as well with our shortened truncated season. But we should be back up towards that full strength number, significantly higher this year. Game coverage last year, varsity games, 91% of them with full 3-man crews, which is awesome. No varsity games with only 1 man. So we love that because that's a dangerous game. We did have 1 single JV game with 1 man. So really, really nice coverage across all those JV games, which is fantastic. Here are big milestones that we got. So Brandon Wynn and Mitchell Dean last year crossed over the 100-game threshold. Myself and Devin Benz hit 200. TJ coming in at 400. Russell at 500. And oh, so close. Tom Hofford ending the season at 399 games. So somebody will get his 400 here pretty soon. We've got a great rookie class coming out, or this was last year's rookie class, I'm sorry. So this was originally a couple of these guys were 2020s and then became 2021s. Now we're coming into 2022. So really excited to have all those guys back. Our housekeeping stuff here, you guys are going to get some more information about this with how to go through all of this. But we will have updated contact information on the website. That's something you guys can go in and do. Just verifying that your USL membership number, address, phone number, all that stuff is there. Email is all current and relevant. Background checks are run through US Lacrosse, so that'll come out at veterans training. But most of our guys will need to do that again now. That background check is good for 2 years. Most guys are expiring this year. We will have that independent contractor agreement, like Hoff said. And then remember, we have the block feature on the website. Games are going to be, we're going to be starting to assign them here in a couple weeks. So the sooner you can get those blocks in, the better. And that way, you can always work with your assigner. So those are the big things. And then in addition, remembering to renew that USA Lacrosse membership. We need to have that renewed by February 11th. That also comes with the option to get your rule book. So the sooner the better. Mine just arrived the other day. And then your test completion is also done through the USA Lacrosse website. We will go through some of that content, but it's a good test this year. There are a couple of tricky questions that require you to dig in a little bit, but we need that done by February 25th. Otherwise, you will not be available to be assigned games until March 28th. You need 85% to pass, and then all you need to do is forward me your successful email. They'll send you that one saying you've passed, you just forward it on and you're good to go. So like it said here, and you get that copy with your USA Lacrosse membership. You can also go on the NFHS website and order one if for some reason you ordered a different rule book. So yeah, big things here. Just make sure as our official rules interpreter, right, that you guys are digging through the rule book and looking up the actual rule, trying to analyze the text if you have a question. And then Russell is happy to get back to you. Preferred method there is in email, so that way you have a written record. Tom's going to roll us into our rules and officiating.
Yeah, there was a question on the test. Ricky, go ahead. Rick Ropke, you had a question on the test, it said?
Yeah. In years past, we were shown a link to open it up as a PDF so we can print it out, and we were like kind of do it on paper form a little bit if we want to do it that way first before we go in and put in our answers. I still like doing that. Can we get that PDF link again?
Yes, I'll get that published on the OLOA website. I see Kyle jotting a note. We do have that. Incidentally, there's only 3 of us that have completed the USAL test thus far, which is fine. I don't want guys panicking on that, but we need to see a considerable spike in that. It is, as Russell will attest, it is not fun trying to track you guys down to see completion of your tests. As I mentioned early, we are all adults and we wear certain responsibilities for the right to get a paycheck. Help us out. And one correction I'd like to issue is Mitchell Dean is fully paid for his jacket. That was my error. Whoop, whoop. Thank you, Mitchell. So now I'd like to jump into, Scott, did you have a question? Oh, just finger. Okay. I'd like to jump in. We're going to play our the 2022 NFHS rules. Now, every time we do this, I got to figure out, this is one weird thing, how we get the sound right, because I think we had it was challenged last year. So give me just one moment on this. Okay, let's do this right here, Hoff.
When you're setting up your screen share in that bottom left corner, just hit that. Hopefully that should work.
Okay, first of all, did you hear that?
No.
Not hearing that?
No.
Okay. All right, so we went to share sound. Okay, now confirm you're hearing sound.
Welcome to the 2022 USA.
You're good.
Okay, here we go, gentlemen. This is just over 17 minutes, and this is a year that we have a number of rule changes, so check it. Is that on full screen for everyone?
Lacrosse boys high school lacrosse rules and officiating video. This video was created to prepare and educate the USA lacrosse community for the upcoming lacrosse season and is for educational purposes. To set the agenda for this presentation, we will cover several important aspects of the game. We will also discuss the committee's points of emphasis. Points of emphasis. The committee has addressed the following items as the points of emphasis for the 2022 season. The NFHS Boys Lacrosse Rule Committee advocates for continued commitment by fans and spectators to respect the game and each other, on and off the field. Fans and spectators are asked to monitor and maintain sportsmanship while encouraging both teams involved in the contest. Fans and spectators are reminded that comments directed toward coaches, players, and officials are expected to be positive in nature. The committee expects all participants to continue to work together to exhibit good sportsmanship from pre-game through post-game. Effective January 1st, 2022, all field players shall wear shoulder pads designed for lacrosse that meet the NOCSI ND 200 standard at the time of manufacture. Effective January 1st, 2022, the home team will be required to wear white jerseys, and the away team will be required to wear a non-white jersey. Effective January 1st, 2022, a protective cup or pelvic protector is required for all players. Each player is personally responsible for wearing this protective equipment.
Feels weird picking it up. The legacy.
Continued emphasis is needed regarding player safety rules, particularly contact to the head, neck, as well as contact against defenseless or unsuspecting players. A. Contact to head, neck shall result in a 2 to 3 minute non-releasable penalty. Excessive violence may result in ejection. B. Defenseless player. Player shall not body check a player in a defenseless position. Hitting a defenseless player will result in a 2 to 3 minute non-releasable penalty or ejection. C. Targeting. When a player intentionally takes aim at an opponent's head, neck, targeting shall result in a 3-minute non-releasable penalty or ejection. The NFHS Boys Lacrosse Rules Committee is partnered with USA Lacrosse to provide the most up-to-date mechanics for officials. In order to accomplish this, the NFHS Boys Lacrosse Committee has adopted the USA Lacrosse 2-man and 3-man mechanics manuals. These manuals are a way for officials, coaches, players, and spectators to see consistency in high school officiating across the country. Each year, USA Lacrosse publishes these resources online and at no cost for officials. To access these resources, visit www.usalacrosse.com/officials. Major rule changes for 2022. The following section discusses the major rule changes and clarifications for the 2022 season. Rule 191F. Protective Cup. A protective cup or pelvic protector is required for all players. Each player is personally responsible for wearing this protective equipment, and the equipment shall not be modified from the manufactured state and shall be worn in the manner the manufacturer intended. Rule 282E. Timekeeper responsibilities. The duties of the timekeeper have been simplified to include only the following duties. Keep an accurate account of the time of each period, penalty time, and to inform the penalized players when the penalty time has expired. Notifying officials when players enter the field of play from the penalty area before their penalty time has expired. Notifying officials when a head coach requests a count of long crosses. Notifying officials when a head coach believes there was a misapplication of a rule. When alleged violations occur, the timer and scorer shall confirm the status of the ball when the alleged violation took place, and timekeeper will sound the horn twice at the next dead ball to notify officials of the potential issue. Rule 312. Score differential. During the second half, once the goal differential reaches 12 goals or more and starting with the whistle to resume play, the game shall have a running game clock. The clock will remain running until the end of the game, even if the goal differential reverts to less than 12 goals. Rule 4.3. Face-offs. USA Lacrosse and the NFHS Boys Lacrosse Rules Committee has aligned with the NCAA face-off rules in using the standing neutral grip. The overriding principle of the changes to the face-off is for players to play the ball. There are several changes for the 2022 season that have been adopted for the rules. Officials shall place the ball down first, so players are aware of the face-off location. Players must stand for the face-off. All fingers of both hands shall be gloved and wrapped around the cross. The cross head and the gloved hands must be touching the ground. The hand closer to the throat of the head of the cross shall be in palm up position, and the other hand is in a palm down position. This is known as a standing neutral grip. A player with both palms facing the ground is not a legal face grip. This is known as the motorcycle grip. A face-off player's first move must be to play the ball, and they may not immediately body check their opponent. Violations of this rule will result in an immediate turnover or potentially a time-serving personal foul if the contact is violent. USA Lacrosse would like to remind players, coaches, and officials about the following points of emphasis for the face-off. The overriding principle is for both players to play the ball. Clamping is allowed on the initial move only and must be moved, raked, or directed immediately. Immediately is defined as within 1 step. The use of helmet-to-helmet contact during a face-off is a concern. Officials need to determine if any potential violations occur when a player uses helmet-to-helmet contact to gain an advantage or contact their opponent forcefully. Legal stick contact can occur to an opponent's stick or gloved hands wrapped around the cross. Any contact above the cuff of the player's glove should be a technical foul for an illegal hold or a personal foul if the contact is violent. New for the 2022 season, the cross and glove shall rest along the center line. All fingers of both hands shall be gloved and wrapped around the cross. The cross head and the gloved hands shall be touching the ground. The hand closer to the throat of the cross shall be in a palm up position.
Friends would walk up to me and just be like, "What the f is in your mug?" And I would just tell them, "It's mud."
The officials will place the ball on the ground, indicating the face-off location, and instruct the players to prepare the face-off by saying down. Players shall get into the face-off position as quickly as possible and be standing as they get into position for the face-off. The crosses and the gloves shall rest on the ground parallel to each other and be up to but not touching the center line. All fingers of both hands shall be wrapped around the cross. The cross head and gloved hands shall be in contact with the ground. The hand closer to the cross head must be in a palm up position and may not touch any part of the cross head. Both the hands and the feet of each player shall be to the left of the throat of the cross, and each player shall be positioned so their entire body is left of the throat of their cross. If the players are not positioned properly, the officials may adjust the player's positioning, including the cross, to ensure the face-off will be conducted fairly. Once the official is satisfied with the positioning of the players and their crosses, he shall instruct the players to remain motionless by saying, "Set." Officials may have one hand on the crosses when the set command is given. After the set command, the official shall back out and blow the whistle to start play. The whistle cadence will vary for every face-off. The following clips are examples of common pre-whistle face-off violations. In these clips, pay attention to each player's movements after the official has placed their hand on the cross and given this set command. These following clips are examples of common post-whistle face-off violations, which will include pinning the cross down, withholding the ball from play, common holding penalties, illegal use of helmet, and violations for players that do not attempt to play the ball before body checking an opponent. Finally, here are some examples of legal plays or counters after a face-off player has lost the clamp. Rule 4.4. Contact to face-off players. The committee felt that clarification needed to be made on how wing players can legally contact face-off players that are down battling for the ball during a face-off. Language has been added to the rules that state, when the whistle sounds to start play, the players in the wing areas are released but must avoid body checking the face-off players battling while down in a defenseless position for control of the ball in the initial face-off spot. This clarification avoids body checks to face-off players that can be in a vulnerable position. Should an illegal body check occur to a player in a vulnerable position, it must be penalized as a minimum of 2 minutes non-releasable. Rule 4.24. Officials' timeouts because of lost equipment. Another situation has been clarified so officials are aware of when to suspend play because of lost equipment. If a player loses any mandatory personal equipment when in a scrimmage area, while they have possession of the ball, or a player is apparently injured, play shall be suspended immediately. If a player not in possession of the ball legally loses mandatory equipment and no other players are in an immediate vicinity, then the play may continue. Finally, play will also immediately be suspended if the goalkeeper's cross or any other mandatory equipment becomes broken or malfunctions. If a stoppage occurs due to lost equipment, the team with possession or entitled to possession at the time of the whistle shall retain possession. If neither team has possession at the time of the whistle, the ball shall be awarded according to the alternate possession rule. Rule 7.8. Scoring plays in progress during slow whistle situations. The committee has removed the term imminent and replaced it with a scoring play in progress as it relates to slow whistle situations. In most cases, a second defensive foul will stop a play immediately, but officials can extend a play if a scoring play is in progress. The following criteria has been added to the rules so officials can determine if a scoring play is in progress. The ball is in the attacking team's offensive half of the field. the ball is continuously advanced toward the goal. When a team advancing toward the goal that takes the ball behind goal line extended is no longer advancing toward the goal. An in-progress scoring play can start from behind goal line extended, but once the ball is brought above goal line extended, it may not go back. A team is only allowed one shot attempt on goal, or any other reason that normally stops a slow whistle situation. USA Lacrosse and the NFHS would like to thank you for watching the 2022 Boys High School Rules Interpretation. For more information about the rules, interpretations,
Okay, gentlemen, thank you for going through that. Appreciate it. I want to go, I'm going to have these two gentlemen tag team this next piece. And that's Mike Brooks to give us a view of some of the key things we're going to be doing in veterans training. And then our resident sergeant at arms will remind us as officials, Neil Reinen, what our commitment for attendance to veteran trainings as well as the annual meeting. So Mike, would you jump in? Do we have Mike Brooks on the call still?
I can start with mine. Oh, you there?
No, I got it. I'm
Okay.
sorry. I was talking, but I was on mute. Anyway, we have 3 veterans trainings that are 2 hours apiece for the Portland, Salem, Eugene, and the High Desert Bend area. We don't have a location yet for the Eugene area. I've got two locations that I'm trying to work on, but with what's going on with COVID, we're having issues getting that one, but I should have that hopefully within the next week. So look at the OLOA website for the information regarding where the sites are. I believe right now Bend is doing it at the MOTA building and the Portland is at the Sports Authority. Neil, do you have a spot for Salem?
Yeah, I think we just hadn't listed it. It's the chamber office in just north of downtown in Salem. We're going to get that put on the website quickly.
Yeah, and for
Okay.
clarity, Portland is not at the Sports Authority building. It is going to be at Round Table Pizza, and we'll get that up on the website. The Sports Authority building is actually begins a demolition on Monday morning.
So, and these trainings are designed as a back and forth between the clinician, which I believe it's going to be Neil down in Eugene. Is that correct, Neil?
I'm thinking it's you, but we'll talk later.
All right, well, that's fine. I'm good with
Yep.
that as well. So we'll be going over the rules, the new rules. We'll be picking some test questions out, and we'll be talking about what we talked about earlier, the new norm with what we've been going through for the last 2 years with the global pandemic, some philosophies, techniques to diffuse, and some extra patience that we may need with coaches, parents, and players. So I'm looking forward to it. You need to make 2 of these, guys. So we need to make sure that you're getting to these. And stay tuned on the website, and I'll reach out to the guys down in Eugene for the location. Neil?
Hey, thanks, Mike. I think Tom Johnson put there in the chat room that Eugene is doing 2 sessions. So 2 sessions, not Eugene, Bend, excuse me, Bend. Bend is 2 sessions. The rest of the state are 3 sessions in successive weeks starting in late February. Again, this is a back and forth. We definitely don't want somebody just getting up there and doing the whole thing themselves. So getting topics for us, that would be awesome. And like down there at the bottom, it says you can email me or you can email Dawn about any topics, and we may be able to delve into that. We do require all veterans to be in 2 of the 3 sessions at minimum. to be assigned games. And as you can see on the schedule, each of these regions have their dates and are on different days of the week. So if you're in Salem and you can't make a Thursday session, you can go to Portland, and I believe Portland's on a Wednesday. You have to look at the site. And same with Eugene, same with Portland. Salem's always available to you if you didn't make that date, and we always make Salem the last day of the week on Thursday for training, and that way guys, if they do miss, can go. One carrot we have is if you make all the annual meeting, which obviously all of you have done today, and you make all 3 training sessions for veterans, you do get a free pass to the Final Four and the championship game, so you wouldn't have to pay for that, and definitely want you there. Again, this is a great time for us to go over what we need to do as officials, and ideas and topics are great. So thank you, Tom.
Awesome. Question was asked in the chat. Can I go to any of them? Yes. Tuesdays, Eugene, Wednesdays, Portland, Thursdays, Salem.
One thing I would say there real quick though, is if in the first week you go to Eugene on Tuesday and Portland on Wednesday and Salem on Thursday, it's the same content, so that won't work. So yeah, just clarifying that if somebody wants to do that, that is not a possibility.
Yeah, they're different portals, guys. So each of our weeks have a different portal. So you'll have session 1, session 2, and session 3. You need to be at one of the 3 in each of the weeks. And we have had guys drive quite a ways to make sure they catch them. Thank you, Mike and Neil, for that. And look for updates on the website in the coming week as we solidify locations.
Oh, and a reminder too, we do ask that rookies come to veterans training. You're going to go through rookie training with either Don or myself, Tom or Mike down there in Eugene if he has any, but we do want you to come to veterans training to meet the guys and hear what's going on.
Mr. Johnson, tell us about the triumphant return of Sally. Did we lose Tom Johnson?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. I apologize for dogs in the background. I'm babysitting. Sally, as everybody that has been there in previous years, is in Sisters. It's a great time for our group as officials to get together. It's one of the very few times you're going to get to do a lot of games and go home with a check. This year's times, I know it says it's 7th and 8th, but I seen the 6th through the 8th on their website through Thump. Thump is putting it on this year, and it's going to be in Sisters. We are going to have 60 approximately teams, girls 5-6 through high school JV, boys 3-4 through high school JV. We have a house that is commandeered for us to stay, eat, get together, talk, just come together as a group, and a lot of good stories, a lot of good sharing, information for new officials, veteran officials. Come meet everybody in the high desert, Portland, Salem, throughout the whole state. And I think we even get, I don't know if we get anybody from out of state, but it's a great time for us to come together as officials. Hope to see you there.
Do they get a nice meal on Saturday night, Johnson? I forget.
Yes. We put together with our unpaid chefs. They throw together some kind of meal. Usually it's pretty delicious too. Again, like I said, it's a great time to be together as officials.
Thanks, Tom. Okay, Stro, rock us through recruitment.
I am here. Okay, so guys, you've heard a couple times today where we are with regard to officials. Tom indicated that, across the country, all sports are down 39% in officials. You saw our numbers. The games are going to pop back up. We need officials, and we need all of us to participate in the recruiting of officials. What we're going to do, and as a board, is create the materials and the messaging for all of us to use in our outbound recruitment of officials. But I really encourage you to look outside the boundaries of normal people that you talk to, and where you look and how you look for officials. So we're going to post information on our website with searchable keywords. We're going to send the flyer that we developed to statewide youth lacrosse organizations and see if they can share that flyer with parents and former players. We've been lucky enough to get a lot of parents of former lacrosse players as recent new officials. And for all of you, thank you for coming out. You've just been great, and it's really been a pleasure to work with you. So thank you for that. Again, the board, we're going to expand to new regions and opportunities. We're going to reach out to the ADs and coaches, request recommendations. A lot of the coaches, they're friends with teachers, and if you know teachers, and I work with them and certainly in lacrosse and other sports, they're looking for other sports to officiate. I worked with a teacher from David Douglas last night in a basketball game, and I was heavily recruiting him. So that's one thing we really want to look at. Also, some early retirees are still in really good shape, want to get out there and be part of the game. We're going to reach out to guidance counselors about career days. This was a good suggestion by Hugh. So we really want to be included in these and promote the opportunity. Also, we're going to promote via Craigslist. I talked about social media. So we're going to have posts on social media, and then I'll turn this around and ask you to repost those as you can. We're going to have short blurbs that we're going to try and get out to local municipalities and publications. And then again, I encourage you, this was suggested by 2 online sources, is to look beyond your normal scope. Look to minorities, look to women, look to unserved communities, look to places where there are people who could be just great officials, and maybe we just never talked to them before. Okay. What you can do, attend games in other sports and talk to those officials, right? If they're not working a spring sport, let's get them out if they're good officials, right? If you have a health club, there's sports-minded people at health clubs, men and women, all, ages and sizes. They probably want to officiate or do something more. They're sports-minded. So if you can, post a flyer. At the same time, at sports training facilities, there's one across from Jesuit. I know they do sports training. They train athletes. There's probably trainers there, and certainly we can get on the board there. If you can't do it, if you identify one, just let us know. We'll see if we can get a flyer to them to post on the board, okay? You've got company newsletters. There's got to be people in and around your company that are looking for stuff to do. Especially now, if we had the WFH, people want to get out of the house and they want to do stuff and they want to give back and help. And this was one of my notes today too. People have always asked me why I do it. And my first thing out of my mouth is somebody did it for me. So, there are people out there who you can encourage to give back. Again, talk to friends, expand horizons. It's that give back. We'll ask you to share the OLOA flyer on social media and post it with a couple of these message tips. You don't need to go into great length because people don't really read on social media anyway. So if you just have a short tip of why it's cool, why it's important, what it does for the community, and why the game is great. Again, there's all these different points. You probably have your own you might want to add here, but keep it short, keep it succinct. And let's really try and get, 5, 10, 15 new officials here in the next couple of months that we can integrate into the program and really bring up. And then, we can certainly bring them in and start to educate them and get them involved in the game as we move into the summer and into next year. Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, James, and appreciate you joining our board of directors and sharing some of your recruitment history. Okay, boys, Neil, if you'd get us heading towards the home stretch here.
Sure. I'm the chair of the evaluation committee and the L2S committee, and the other members are Bob Weir, Russell Dean, Don Huber, and TJ down in Eugene. What we do is we identify people that we're looking to join the L2S ranks, and then we also do evaluations. Those were formal evaluations by one of us, and those are done occasionally throughout the year. We like to do more than we can, but with the season sometimes becoming a blur, it's hard to do that, but we do what we can. One exciting thing came up this year from Don Huber's request, and we are now going to be doing mentorship observations, and that is going to be done by all L2S members. And that is now going to be, I haven't talked to the L2Ss yet because we just solidified all this on our last meeting just the other day. And I will be having a Zoom call with all L2Ss shortly on this. And so we decided that it's going to be a mentorship and it's going to be a give back to the association. And everybody is going to have all the L2Ss are required to do at least one just mentorship observation. And it's not a formal one, and there's no pay or no gas for it. So it'll be probably in your local area. And what we're looking for this to be is a situation where you go out and just help a crew or help an individual on a varsity or a JV game, and give them some tips and some help and some kudos for what's going right. And that's what we're looking for. So again, for all the L2Ss out there right now, you're hearing this for the first time, we will have a Zoom call about this and all your questions will be answered. But don't be surprised if you see a guy come out and want to talk to you, and please take the time to listen. And it's not going to be a long, like a formal evaluation where it could take maybe 20 minutes, a half an hour to post game that. This will be short and sweet and just a few reminders and a few observations for how you guys did or how you did as an individual in that game. Yeah, that's it, Tom.
Thanks, Neil, and I appreciate your work with that committee. It is that's a special group, and I think how we give back, this is one of those critical ways. Okay, I want to talk real quickly about some website functionality. Some of you are very familiar with our system. We have a block feature now. We can get into that in veterans trainings, but lots of different things on our website, lots of different ways. Not something everybody has to do, but I have 71 active officials in my cell phone. So if you call me, I should know who you are. Nick David, thanks for updating your cell phone today. The key is your information needs to be accurate in the system. It is the only way we get a hold of you. And I know text messaging is so easy, and I love that, but remember, key communication from the league will come through your email. If you find that you are getting it sent into spam and the whatnot, let me know. I'll connect you with Brian Platts. He's got some tricks around the system. One other area that's important to talk about, as I mentioned, is ejections. It is extremely important, if you have an ejection in your game, to contact me the night of its occurrence. Let me repeat. If you have an ejection in your game, I need to hear from you that night. I cannot be surprised by a call at 6:30 in the morning from Rick Gruen and Paul Schlesinger on this. I've got to speak from a position of strength, and that means hearing from my fellow officials first. Full credit to Paul and Rick. They do not make decisions on player suspensions without coming to us for our opinion. That will get compromised if I do not know about the situation. So please, you need to contact me if you have an ejection in your game. And then I, of course, will direct you right when you get home, before you shower, to please fill out the game report. It is okay if you had a nice, smooth game. and you're a second or third on the game to fill out, you know, your rate the crew or whatever the next day. But we need ejection reports reported the night of, because many times these kids, if they are going to be suspended, they are not allowed to practice either now. So there's some league ramifications that come with this. Please don't put me in a spot where I don't know about it. My cell should be in all your phones. It just call me. I may be on a game, and so you can call and leave a message, or you can text is super easy. Hey Hoff, had an injection tonight, gonna fill out the game report the moment I got home. I'll try not to interrupt you at 11:30 at night, but if it's something big, I may need to reach out. Do not delay on injections. It's vital. So let's review our closing checklist. Great work attending the virtual annual meeting. I know it's not as fun as in person. Everybody's missing the Ken Albin hugs and John Chessar hugs, but we kept you all safe. You have to attend your veteran training meetings. We're going to have a submission of vaccine and booster documentation, comply with our conflict of interest policy, which we'll go through at veterans, as well as social media, and the independent contractor agreement will be sent out via email. Renew your U.S. Lacrosse membership by February 11th. Annual background checks will be sent out via email and it's encrypted. And complete your NFHS 2022 test by February 25th. And please send those results. You just hit the forward button from U.S. Lacrosse to Kyle Verding. Let's become physically and mentally prepared for the season. Drop a few LBs in the month ahead, so you're not taken out of the key season. This is going to be a lot longer season than we've had in 2 years, gentlemen. Last year's season was 6 weeks long. This year's season is slated as 10 and a half weeks with playoffs. Gentlemen, thanks for your time today. I love seeing you all, even though it's virtually. Be a great crew member, nothing above the crew. Remember, if I die tomorrow, I hope you remember one statement from me. People will not remember what you said necessarily to them, but they will always remember how they felt around you. Please be a crew member that people love to work with. Gentlemen, thanks for a great time today. You made it through, and we're done at 11:58. See you at Veterans Trainings, gentlemen.
Nice job keeping it running, Hoff.
What?
Nice job keeping it running. Good job.
Oh, you bet. Thank you, guys. Have a great time.
Thank you, everyone.
See you soon.
Thank you.